5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios, this is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling toll-free 1-877-Newsmax. That's 1-877-639-7629. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
My name's Daniel, and I'm going to college for computer science. I enrolled in a plan on healthcare.gov. Already had health insurance, but I just wanted to see if I could do a little bit better on the health insurance marketplace, and I did. Once I was on the site, it was pretty easy for me to compare plans. I was able to pick a much higher quality plan, and because of my income as a student, I only pay about $70 a month for it. Getting coverage this good at this price, I'm thrilled. And hey, I'm covered.
You can be covered too. Go to the health insurance marketplace at healthcare.gov.
Folks, that was not from The Onion. That was from HHS. That's actually a commercial they're running, or a promo they're running, talking about how easy and wonderful it is to sign up for Obamacare. Joining us now to talk about that and many other issues is our friend, Senator Rand Paul. Senator, how are you?
Good, Steve, but I didn't know you had fiction on your show. You started out with a bit of fiction.
It is hysterically funny and so crazily ironic, but there it is. I mean, hey, what else would you expect from this administration and HHS?
Well, I can't wait. I get to sign up for it November 1st. I can't wait to go on Obamacare.
Well, first of all, before we get to more into Obamacare and your constitutional amendment project and everything else, I'm holding up in my hand the cover of Newsmax. It's just full of information that I did not know about you. For instance, Matt Welsh wrote the.
He knows everything.
Everything.
He knows everything. That is true. That's a true story. About 24 years ago. We've been married for 23 years now, and we have 3 kids.
Well, that's great. No, that's great. I thought you were going to tell me the story, but that's okay. No, that's fine. Okay, so let's switch to the mundane now, and that's Obamacare. So today we find out they're calling this. The whole thing is just so laughable.
Well, see, you know why Verizon's getting involved. They already have an arrangement. They work for the government. They give the government all of our. Since they're already working with the NSA, they thought that'd be an easy arrangement to set up.
Are you supporting the call by Marco Rubio and others to pass into law something that says you can't fine anybody for not signing up because they're not able to sign up?
I'm afraid I'm a couple steps behind. I still think the whole damn thing's unconstitutional. I want him to have Obamacare himself if he really thinks it's constitutional. But no, to your point, yeah, I think you can't be fining people if your website doesn't even work. You're going to fine people for not signing up for something that it's impossible to get. The other great irony of this thing is, they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars, like on that ad you played, to get people to sign up for something that's free. If people won't sign up for something that's free for a lot of people, if you can't convince people that you're giving them something and they won't sign up for it, I can't imagine how it's going to succeed.
Yeah, and you know what? People are going to quickly learn a little word called deductible. If you got healthy kids thinking that they're going to sign up and get free health care, which won't necessarily be free, but even if the premiums are subsidized or are cheaper than what they thought, the deductibles in some cases are huge, and I don't even think they know. I never heard Barack Obama or anyone supporting this bill or this law utter the word deductible.
Well, it's a trade-off. In the old days, if you got a high deductible, it didn't cover much, but it's also very cheap. So I can remember being 26 years old, making about $26,000 a year, and not having insurance for a while, and I paid about $1 a day, but it probably had a $5,000 deductible on it. Now you're going to get a $5,000 or $6,000 deductible, covers everything under the sun, once you get to that point, and covers some things under that, but it's very expensive. It's not a cheap policy. They're all going to, if you have to pay the full cost for these things, if you're not getting the subsidies, they're all going to be very expensive plans.
All right, let me ask you about your constitutional amendment proposal that you're pushing, which makes all the sense in the world, and that is basically that Congress can never again, write laws with provisions specific to lawmakers. In other words, they pass Obamacare or something like that, they would have to be, in the Supreme Court, Justice Roberts, they'd all have to be included in it, correct?
Yeah, and we've done this in the past. You realize that when they passed actions for disabilities or civil rights legislation, that in the past Congress has exempted themselves. Initially, they exempted themselves from Social Security until there was an outcry. So really, it should be against the law for them to make laws that they don't make binding on themselves. I think that's the very nature of a just law, is that it should be binding on everyone. And I think it's part of an overall message that I think the public is approval rating in Congress. So I think they do want us to make the laws binding on Congress, but I think they'd also like us to approval rating Congress. So I think they do want us to make the laws binding on Congress, but I think they'd also like us to read the bills. I have a Read the Bills Act, and also have a term limits constitutional amendment, because I think, frankly, turnover would help us.
We're talking to Senator Rand Paul, of course, the cover story on the Newsmax, the magazine, for this month here on the Steve Malzberg Show. All right, another issue that you feel very strongly about and you've been talking about is the NSA. And today the headlines are just blaring that France is really ticked off that they've been spied on. Their diplomats have been spied on. Saudi Arabia doesn't like us anymore. But more importantly, we find out day after day more and more the spying and the collection of data that's been perpetuated against the American people without their knowledge. You're hoping, I know, for the U.S. Supreme Court to weigh in on this, and you want to stop, I guess, one warrant enabling the government to get millions and millions of computer information. Correct?
Yes, I've introduced legislation to reform the NSA. It would give a constitutional advocate that would argue before FISA, but if it still appears to be going against the Constitution, they can appeal it from FISA, which is a secret court, to the Supreme Court, which would be in public view. I personally think that the Fourth Amendment was specifically written so that we would have individualized warrants. The British soldiers were coming into our house with general warrants, not specific to the name or the person who lived there. They were just willy-nilly going in anyone's house. So we wrote the Fourth Amendment to prevent that. But now the government is using warrants, one warrant, a single warrant, to get all of the phone calls from Verizon or all of the searches from Google. And there. They were just willy-nilly going in anyone's house. So we wrote the Fourth Amendment to prevent that. But now the government is using warrants, one warrant, a single warrant, to get all of the phone calls from Verizon or all of the searches from Google. And you can't do that. That goes against everything the Fourth Amendment stands for. But it is going to require a new understanding, because in the past the Supreme Court has said that once you give up your records to a third party, they don't get Fourth Amendment protection. But I absolutely disagree with that, because what I spend on my Visa, what I have in my bank records, I think is my information. Unless you think I've committed a crime, or unless you think a judge can say there's probable cause, I don't think you should be looking at someone's banking records, their Visa records, or their phone records.
And what's the status of the legislation in the Senate? Is it in committee, or how far has it gone?
We have bipartisan support. Ron Wyden and I, who's a Democrat but a good defender of civil liberties, we put this thing forward. There's a competing bill in the Intelligence Committee that won't do very much to fix the problem, and that's what the president wants. And then there's also another bill in the Judiciary, and I haven't seen it done yet. So there's going to be 2 or 3 competing bills, and we're hoping the biggest part that I hope happens, and what my influence has been in this process, is that there should be an ultimate way to get this decision at the Supreme Court. A secret court should not make a decision on the constitutionality or the Fourth Amendment protection.
Okay, I want you to hear, we had the former Majority Leader of the House, Tom DeLay, on yesterday, and here's what he said about the recent shutdown and the Republican strategy.
Well, they surrendered before they even got started. I was very proud of the House passing that continuing resolution with defunding Obamacare on it. But if you're going to fight this fight, you got to fight it to win, and that's frankly what Obama did. The national media just doesn't seem to understand that Obama did the same thing that the Republicans did. He's the one that shut down the government because he wouldn't pass a bill or agree to sign a bill that keeps the government open and negotiate with the Republicans. He said early on, months ago, that he was not going to negotiate, that he was going to hold his ground, and he didn't care if the government shut down or not. He was going to get his way. He held firm, and he wins.
All right. So what do you think of that analogy, or that analysis, I should say, and going forward? Because
you would have leverage in this situation is if we all agreed. Basically, virtually every Republican in the Senate and virtually every Republican in the House would have to say, we are willing to go through the deadline. We're willing to go as long as it takes until the president negotiates, because it's a poker game. But the president, I think, knew from the very beginning, because there were voices saying, many Republicans saying they didn't like the strategy. And so when we weren't united, there wasn't much chance of having any leverage. The only way you'd have leverage is, but it does have to be pretty much a party decision. It can't be a few of us that decide to do it, and that's why it really didn't work. But I would say, in defense of doing something, that we just can't give a blank check to the president. We can't just say borrow whatever you want. And the country has a really big problem. I mean, we're borrowing $1 million a minute. We can't keep doing this. It's unsustainable. So it's wrong to give him a blank check. But then again, on the other side of the coin, we have to decide how long are we willing to carry out something like a shutdown or a debt ceiling, go through a deadline. And I think there isn't the resolve on our side to go through these things, because some bad things do happen. You know, the monuments get closed, some checks eventually don't go out, and potentially there could be a stock market reaction to it.
And is Mitch McConnell have your confidence, or do you support a Tea Party challenge on the primaries?
You know, I endorsed him about a year ago, and what I've said all along is he's in a tougher position than the rest of the people who are just the members not in leadership, in the sense that about half of our caucus believed that it was never a good idea to have any shutdown. That half of the caucus was never going to follow through with staying shut down for a couple of months or seeing if the president would change. I'm not sure the president will change in a month or two, so I'm not sure he doesn't have a position, because as the shutdown lengthens, I think the Republicans do catch more of the blame. So I'm not sure it is in the best interest. So Senator McConnell's in a tough position. He has to decide what's best, what the caucus wants, and also what's best as far as the Republican Party with regard to a shutdown. He'll be the first to admit it wasn't a great deal. It was a deal only just to get government back open again. But the only thing we've done positive in the last couple of years actually has been the sequester. And my point has been we cannot lift the sequester caps. We need the sequester caps on discretionary spending, which we got, we now need caps on spending on mandatory spending, Medicare and Social Security. We need caps on that as well.
All right, I leave you with this. I will never ask you, Senator, to handicap a political race because another fact that comes out of the Newsmax cover story is that in 2010, when you ran for the Senate, you told your wife not to worry because you had less than a 10% chance of winning.
And that's what I thought at the time, and I was surprised that there was a lot of unhappiness with the way things were going on, and I think people were ready for something new.
All right, listen, you've been generous with your time as always. Thank you very much. We'll speak to you again, sir.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
Take care. My pleasure. Senator Rand Paul, ladies and gentlemen, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Do you want to weigh in on any of that? I would love to get your take on what he had to say about his constitutional amendment proposal, about what the bill that he's working on to help get the NSA under rein, or have it reined in a little bit more certainly than it is reined in right now, or about the Obamacare and the fiction of that HHS ad that they have out there. It's 877-NEWSMAX, 877-639-7629. 877-639-7629, right here on the Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Hi, this is Dick Morris. Obamacare is taking full effect this year with over 15,000 pages of regulations. You need to know how this law affects you. That's why you should get your copy of Obamacare's Survival Guide. It's easy to read and the best guide to the new law. Even if you're currently insured or a senior on Medicare or a business owner, a medical professional, or really any citizen, you need the Obamacare Survival Guide. In it, you'll find about hidden taxes, fees, and fines, including a 40% tax on some health plans. I warned you about Obamacare. It's rationing, Medicare cuts, and will trigger doctor shortages. Now the Obamacare Survival Guide gives you the simple steps to protect your family.
Get the Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere. It's already an Amazon bestseller. Or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 today. Go to Obamacare311.com. Obamacare311.com. That's Obamacare311.com.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at aftbook.com. That's aftbook.com.
What is Lignet? Lignet is knowledge. Lignet is power. Lignet is global. Top-level officials, U.S. intelligence officers, national security advisors, foreign operatives, all reporting directly to you. What is Lignet? Lignet is confidential. Lignet is sensitive. Lignet is security. What is Lignet? They're the ones taking the world's pulse. If you're not in the know, you're not on Lignet.com. You've been briefed.
I used to sleep like a baby. Now I have to get up in the middle of the night just to go to the bathroom. And not just once.
Men, if you suffer from frequent urination, the inability to empty your bladder, a hesitant urine stream, or leaking due to an aging prostate, listen to this. Renowned physician Dr. David Brownstein believes this does not need to be an inevitable part of aging. After extensive research, Dr. Brownstein has recently developed Prostate Revive, the dietary supplement specifically formulated to help improve and sustain normal prostate function. And now you can receive a 30-day supply of Prostate Revive. Just cover a $4.95 shipping fee. For complete details, visit prostaterevive.com/offer. Act now, and you'll also be given instant access to our downloadable special report, A Doctor's Guide to a Healthy Prostate. Learn how you can try Prostate Revive for 30 days at prostaterevive.com/offer. Hurry, limited time offer. That's prostaterevive.com/offer.
150 million people suffer from headaches. All you want is for the pounding in your head to stop. Migralex stops the pounding. Migralex was developed by a neurologist and founder of the New York Headache Center.
I'm neurologist Dr. Alex Malzberg. After studying and researching the human brain for 25 years, I've developed Migralex, which eliminates pounding headaches. It works for my patients, and I'm so convinced it will work for you. I don't just guarantee it, I put my name on it.
Dr. Malzberg's Migralex gets rid of headaches fast without harsh caffeine, sodium, or preservatives.
Migralex works unbelievably fast and it's gentle on my stomach.
Find out how to get your free bottle of Migralex. Call 800-532-2967. Plus, if you're one of the first 100 callers, you'll also receive the Migralex Quick Tips to Headache Relief absolutely free. That's 800-532-2967. Or go to migralexrelief.com. MIGRALEX relief.com. Or call 800-532-2967.
Where can you find the Steve Malzberg Show? Everywhere. From your smartphone to satellite radio to Newsmax Live TV to Roku, we have you covered. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. Coming up just after the bottom of the hour, we'll be joined by David Folkenflik, NPR's media correspondent, who was just hosting CNN's Reliable Sources on Sunday. By coincidence, I happen to turn it on. He has a great new book about the empire of Rupert Murdoch, and of course that led to Fox News. And well, I can't wait to talk to him. He'll be here in studio with us. I want to tell you a little story here. You know about when it comes to celebrities and bashing the Republicans, and we know about Robert Redford, we know about Bette Midler, we know about Cher, we know about Alec Baldwin, we know about all of this. But listen to this, and Tina Fey. It's not a surprise. Tina Fey, who famously led the world to believe that Sarah Palin said, "I could see Russia from my house," which, of course, she never said. But Tina Fey was out with at an award honoring Carol Burnett. Carol Burnett. Who doesn't love Carol Burnett? Well, sit tight. You might not love her so much when I get finished with this. It was the American humor. Let's see. I want to get this straight. The rape control gets supposedly stated. Okay, she just bashed pro-life Sarah Palin when she won the Kennedy Center's Mark Twain Prize back in 2010. Okay, and that was Tina Fey. Well, Fey whacked at Ted Cruz when Carol Burnett was awarded the same prize. This is according to Deadline Hollywood. Fey reportedly said, "Enough politics. We're here tonight to celebrate the First Lady of American comedy, Ted Cruz." I don't even see how that's funny. I mean, as Tim Graham said, if you think Chris Matthews is profound, it's a side splitter. But I don't even see how that's funny. Then Carol Burnett said, "This is very encouraging. I mean, it was a long time in coming, but I understand because there are so many people funnier than I am, especially in Washington. With any luck, they'll soon get voted out, and I'll still have the Mark Twain Prize." I guess when she says with any luck they'll get voted out, she could mean both parties, so she wasn't being that political. But here's the thing, and this is non-political, I think. Why, when Carol Burnett says it's been a long time coming for her to win that award, why did the Kennedy Center honor Tina Fey and Ellen DeGeneres in years past before finally honoring Carol Burnett, the living legend? Tina Fey and Ellen DeGeneres can't shine Carol Burnett's shoes if they tried. So that's a personal opinion statement, not a political statement. But I would, but leave it to Tina Fey to politicize anything. And Carol Burnett saying she hopes they all get voted out. But I don't know if she meant Democrats, Republicans, or everybody. But they should have given her that award a long time ago. Coming back, Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Okay, this will interest anyone with diabetes or pre-diabetes. And what I'm about to tell you is pretty controversial, so you want to definitely consult your doctor first. But if diabetes concerns you, there's a toll-free number you need to call, 855-500-DIABETES. At that number, they reveal what they call the one weird spice that's probably in your kitchen right now and how it normalizes blood sugar levels. Now, what they say is people who have followed this plan exactly as they will explain it to you have not only normalized their blood sugar, but stopped taking their diabetes medications with their doctor's approval, of course. You get 3 specific actions to take right now, today, to get your blood sugar level under control in 4 weeks or less. Is it possible to reverse diabetes? 855-500-DIABETES and find out now. Check with your doctor, of course, because I'm not giving you medical advice here. But if you have diabetes or are worried about your blood sugar, I think you should call 855-500-DIABETES. 855-500-DIABETES.
When you were younger, you probably never considered your heart health. But cardiologist Dr. Chauncey Crandall knows from experience that taking steps to care for your heart becomes more crucial as the decades pass, if you want to keep this vital organ ticking smoothly for years to come. That's why Dr. Crandall recently developed Cardio Advanced, a nutritional supplement containing 12 special ingredients, all selected to help improve and maintain your heart health and normal cholesterol levels. The flagship of this exclusive formula, esterified plant sterols, may help lower your risk of heart disease when taken as part of a diet low in cholesterol and fat. And great news, now you have the opportunity to try a 30-day supply of Cardio Advanced. Simply cover a $4.95 shipping and handling charge. Plus, if you act right now, you'll also receive a free doctor's guide to a healthy heart as a special bonus. Please visit cardioadvanced.com/radio for complete details on claiming your 30-day bottle of Cardio Advanced and free report. That's cardioadvanced.com/radio. Life is too precious to ignore your heart health. Visit cardioadvanced.com/radio now while supplies last.
Do you have a motorized wheelchair or scooter that needs repairs and you don't know where to turn? Then call the experts at Precision Repair Network. They are the specialists in repairing all makes and models of motorized wheelchairs and scooters. You can call 24/7 and they will come to you anywhere in the United States. They'll give you a loaner to use until they return yours in perfect condition. And your repairs may be covered by your Medicare or your private insurance, so there is little or no out-of-pocket cost to you. If your wheelchair or scooter needs repairs, call this special hotline now and learn how you can get door-to-door service on your repairs at little or no cost to you. Precision Repair Network. They'll get you moving again. Operators are ready to take your call right now. 800-978-4813. 800-978-4813. 800-978-4813. That's 800-978-4813.
Constipation, gas, bloating. Most people suffer through. But now there's a simple solution for occasional digestive problems called Bactipro, developed by holistic medical doctor David Brownstein. Bactipro is the fiber probiotic formula that supports healthy digestive and immune health. And it comes in the form of an easy-to-eat, tasty wafer. Bactipro contains 6 powerful strains of beneficial probiotic bacteria, dietary fiber, and bacteria-nourishing prebiotics, plus powerful antioxidants. Now you can receive a 30-day supply of Bactipro. Just cover a $4.95 shipping fee. Visit Bactipro.com/special. Act now, and you'll also be given instant access to our downloadable special report, A Doctor's Guide to Probiotics and Your Health. Improve your digestive health now. Learn how you can receive your 30-day supply at Bactipro.com/special. That's BACTIPRO.com/special. Bactipro.com/special.
This is not your typical Screamfest talk show.
No.
This is the next generation of talk radio. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. And, you know, when you talk about a media empire and you talk about people at the top of the pyramid in that media empire, you can't help but think of Rupert Murdoch and what an amazing story his story is. Almost all came crumbling down at one point, but of course, ultimately, he's responsible to bring it home to everybody here, Fox News Channel, and so much more. And joining us now is a man who has written the book, as they say. It's Murdoch's World, the last of the old media empires. And David Folkenflik, who happens to be the NPR's media correspondent. I want to get the title correct. And good to see you at the studio.
Hey, thanks so much for having me in.
No,
It's
my
great.
pleasure. And I hold the book up here in my hand for all watching at Newsmax TV to see. Congratulations. Great piece of work.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And he is just a great subject to write about. You must have, I mean, enjoyed doing this book. I could tell you did.
Oh, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
It's a slice of history that takes you from Australia and his origins, even before he inherited this very small newspaper in this forgotten city on the southern coast of the country, in Adelaide, Australia, a city most Americans have never heard of. His roots as a child of one of the most prominent journalists in Australia, and a very respected newspaper correspondent and editor named Keith Murdoch, knighted for his work, and what he did to build an empire that became, I think, the dominant media presence in 3 of the great English-speaking language countries in the world: Australia, the U.S., and the U.K.
How? So the first question, of course, is how did he do it? I mean, it's the whole book, and it's not a simple question.
Sure.
But how does one man turn something as small as that into what he has turned News Corp into?
Well, I think you can boil it down to a couple of things that plays out in a lot of very different ways. But one of it, you got to just admire the man's force of will. He saw opportunity. He was stoked a bit by resentment. His father had been one of the people who led one of the big newspapers in Melbourne, the second largest city in Australia, and he felt that his father had been cheated out of an ownership stake in that company and in some other smaller newspapers that he had thought that his father had been able to hold on to.
So that was a motivating factor?
Very much.
Yeah.
And that the idea was he saw the establishment against him, and he said, I'm not going to let that stand. And so in Australia, he fought against other newspaper owners. He competed. He fought back against what he thought was the dominance of the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, and again in the UK against the BBC, and really demanded a place at the table. You saw that too in the creation of Fox Broadcast Network here in the 80s. Yeah. Why should there be only 3? Well, that's the way it was done. And he said, no more.
Right. No, absolutely. Okay, so talk about the fact that the scandal surrounding him and that affected so much. Every day you look on Drudge or you read in the papers, it was Murdoch this, Murdoch that. It's all crumbling down. Can he survive? And will he survive? And here I think a lot of people in this country, even if they did read it, they kind of had trouble relating to it or how it affected them. As long as Fox News Channel and the New York Post and the other media outlets were still here, then they were okay. But talk about how close it all came to going away or him losing it all.
Well, sure. In those pivotal days and weeks in the summer of 2011, revelations came out really mostly in the Guardian newspaper and then everywhere about the fact that his journalists at the largest selling Sunday paper in the country, and in fact, one of the most popular English language papers in the world, had been hacking into the cell phone messages of not only politicians, not only movie stars, but of the victims of violent crimes and of soldiers who had been killed in combat. And in addition, that his journalists had been paying off cops for information that was supposed to be kept private under British law, and also had been giving favors to very senior police officials too. And why that's important is they were looking the other way. Mm-hmm. When things came in, when there were investigations in years past, they said, we're not going to pursue this hard. And it seems very hard to conclude anything, but that was influenced by their very close relationship with the police. Right. So you ask the question, which is, I think, the right one, why was this all at stake? Well, the Murdochs had built up this unrivaled stable of newspapers, this strong private broadcasters, a competitor to the BBC, and they were able to help influence elections. Politicians in both major parties turned to them for help and support, and it meant the political establishment didn't check what appears now to have been widespread criminality. Right. The police didn't do it. Without the support of those two institutions, when all the information comes out, suddenly it looked like everything could come down. Right. James Murdoch had to step away from his leadership of those properties. He had been tapped essentially by Rupert to be the next Rupert Murdoch's successor, to lead them in the next generation.
Right. That's not going to happen.
That does not look like it's going to happen. He's quietly, by the way, trying to work his way back. Okay. And he's gaining a little bit of momentum to do that. But people who are handpicked by Rupert Murdoch to lead his newspapers are now in the dock. Some of them are going to be on trial just next week in London.
So with the pending trials, which I knew were coming up, is he still in the spotlight? Is there more to come out? Is it going to be reopened all over again? And could he still be in trouble? Could the Empire still be in trouble?
Well, let's put it this way. Murdoch took a number of steps that he resisted against all hope to try to maintain his control. He split the company in two. He always wanted to keep the newspapers in News Corp, surrounded by, Fox Studios and Fox News, which makes so much money for him, as a way of enduring the fact that the New York Post has never made money under his leadership since he bought it in the 70s. You know, he just loves tabloid newspapers.
Right.
That's his real soul, right? So he had to split them up, which means they're much more vulnerable than they would otherwise have been. Les Hinton, you know, much respected CEO of Dow Jones and oversaw the Wall Street Journal, had been the CEO of his British newspaper arm at a time when a lot of these criminal events seem to have taken place. He required Les Hinton to go. Rebecca Brooks, his surrogate daughter, the woman who had been the head of these tabloids, she too was forced to go.
Yeah.
He had worked for months and years to protect her above all else.
So he made the sacrifices both in reality and in the eyes of the public, so that the pressure is quote unquote off to an extent.
Well, investors are delighted by the fact that the entertainment side, unshackled from the drag of the newspapers,
two separate entities now,
are going way up, and they were able to get shares in both the 21st Century Fox, as it's now called, the entertainment side, which includes Fox News, is turning a pretty penny for them. I think News Corp, those shares are, people are looking at them pretty hard.
We're talking to David Folkenflik, and he is the author of Murdoch's World, the last of the old media empires, here on the Steve Malzberg Show, also NPR's media correspondent. How much of it do you think it was as a result of him being targeted? Because, he's the evil Rupert Murdoch. Not only because of the empire that he has, but because of the perceived conservative empire that he has extending to Fox News and all that. How much of that made these scandals more scandalous? In other words, if he weren't Rupert Murdoch, if he were some big liberal on the other side who ran MSNBC, or somehow, we couldn't because it's NBC, but you know what I'm saying? Would he have gotten a pass? Yeah, would he have gotten a pass? Would they have come down as hard on him, out to get him so vehemently, or would they have just said, blah, blah, blah?
Well, certainly Rupert Murdoch himself, and if you want to really get an x-ray of what he's thinking, you can read the Sun tabloid, as he said under oath, or you can read his Twitter feed.
Right.
He certainly believes that there's a nexus of left-of-center news organizations, the BBC, the Guardian, the New York Times, that have targeted him on this.
Yeah.
I've got to say that if the New York Times were home to scores of incidents in which they targeted thousands of people for illegal phone hacking, it would be an astonishing thing. If you look back at the Jason Blair scandal at the New York Times, a single young reporters, a couple of dozen times, made up stories and plagiarized stories, and that was a huge scandal. The editor-in-chief, the managing editor, the reporter, all gone. They did several pages of a hard look at what they did wrong. They participated in some ways at the purging of this from the newsroom. Rupert Murdoch, it's a different culture. He's right that there are people who are critics of his for ideological reasons as well as journalistic reasons. But there is no question but that this was essentially ignored for years because of the support he had from both political parties, not just one, and also from the law enforcement establishment in the UK.
Let's talk about how Rupert Murdoch revitalized, I think is the word you use, Roger Ailes, and now we have what we have with the Fox News channel.
Sure, Roger Ailes, one of the canniest political media advisors to presidential campaigns in the modern era, and also a terrifically accomplished television producer. But he had been working actually in the NBC world. He had worked at CNBC, and he had sort of been trying to launch a channel called America's Talking. And that was his creation.
Yeah, I think I actually, if I'm not mistaken, that was a long time ago, and that was in maybe the Pennsylvania Hotel or something. And I think they ran the Best of Rush TV show, and I used to anchor that and introduce various segments. Because I wouldn't even remember if you asked me what it was called, but I think that's what it was, America's Talking.
Well, and Roger Ailes was the executive producer of Rush Limbaugh's television
TV
show in the 1990s as well. Murdoch had the insight that in order to ensure that Fox Broadcast Network would be viable, what he wanted to do was spend big. He bought the NFL rights. He stole them out from CBS, which took them completely by surprise. And in addition, he said he wanted to mimic them in another way. He wanted something like 60 Minutes. He wanted it on Sundays to follow, because 60 Minutes, time and again, is one of the top 10 shows in the country, and part of that is just that it's a direct delivery vehicle, the NFL, for viewers, right?
You're already tuned in, you keep it on.
Why not? And they do great stuff. He said, I want to do something, but I think they're too liberal. We want something with a more Murdoch sensibility. So they brought in Andrew Neil, who had been a founding chairman of Sky TV over there for Murdoch and had been editor for many years of the Sunday Times in the UK. And they said, we're going to pair you perhaps with someone. They were thinking at the time of Judith Regan, who was another figure on Fox News in later years. And Murdoch said, I don't think we've quite got it. So he brought in a consultant. That consultant was Roger Ailes. And between the two of them and some other folks, they said, let's make a channel out of this. This isn't a show.
Right,
this is going to be a vehicle for our own viewers. And Fox News, what it did from the outset, it said, we're going to do something different. We're going to have voices. We're going to have strong sensibility. We're going to have attractive women. We're going to have confident men. We're going to have fun doing this. And we're going to serve audiences who feel alienated by the mainstream media, who may somehow feel like they're watching something intended for coastal elites. I don't think it's purely Republicans. I think they saw people who felt themselves to be cultural conservatives, people left out by the kinds of conversations the New York Times might be having, or people on Face the Nation might be having on Sunday mornings. And they not only tapped into that, they then purified that vision as Fox News went on.
No, absolutely. We're talking to David Folkenflik, the author of the book, again, Murdoch's World, The Last of the Old Media Empires. People always say you got MSNBC, you got Fox, they're almost the same. The few Republican contributors that they have, to me, fit into the rhino category. Almost without exception, and I guess Newt would be the exception. He's fairly new to that. But when Stephanie Cutter and Van Jones are the hosts of your new show, that to me, that's way to the left. But Fox is for all the right wing programming that they have. I mean, Geraldo's not a right winger. Alan Combs wasn't. He's a contributor now. And almost every issue that's discussed during the course of the day, and mostly on their shows, they have a paid liberal or left contributor, whereas CNN for the most part doesn't, and MSNBC certainly doesn't at all. And like I said, Geraldo's one host. I think Shep Smith is no staunch conservative, and I could go down the list of paid contributors to Fox, about 15 names long. So this misconception that they're a propaganda arm of the Republican Party and they get their talking points, I don't think so.
Well, I look at it a little differently than you, perhaps. I think that MSNBC is what it is in response to Fox. I think Fox figured out how to be successful just after, particularly the 2000 election and the recount process, if you recall that,
sure.
and then the war, and it found its footing. It had already been projecting to have dominance, and then it just took off and found itself, and it's not really looked back with some minor moments of concern since. MSNBC didn't make a profit until it started to bank left, and they just started to bank left hard. And they've got some smart people. They've got some other folks who perhaps aren't as strong performers, but they've never gotten quite the same audiences that Fox has by any stretch. CNN, I think it's harder to categorize. I think that there are some people who you might not see as conservatives. I think that the nature of as I'm a former political reporter and still do a lot of political and media reporting, and my sense is that the center of the Republican Party and the center of political discourse has shifted to the right to a significant degree. So you're seeing certain kinds of different figures in the conservative world on CNN appear that aren't necessarily to the right of the party, but are certainly right of center. All of that said, there are differing voices on Fox. Shep Smith, absolutely. You've heard him on issues like gay marriage. You've heard him talk about issues like torture.
Absolutely.
And they've taken a line quite different than you might have heard from Dick Cheney on some of this stuff.
Megyn Kelly surprises very often.
I don't think Megyn Kelly is a strong ideological person.
No, I don't either.
I do think that if you listen to her tenor and tone is different than a Shep Smith. She's sort of in this nebulous era between say, Shep and very much
different.
Between a Sean Hannity or even a
much
Bill
different,
O'Reilly.
yeah. But you see my point. So taking it back to where we are now with MSNBC and where we are with Fox, I don't see them as being one is the answer to the other anymore. Maybe they thought they were, but one is. I mean, there are no conservatives on MSNBC.
Well, I think
with
that
the exception of you could call it Scarborough conservative, but I don't buy that anymore.
I think it's fair to say that conservatives are significantly underrepresented on MSNBC. They've decided in some ways to do that.
Yeah.
I would say on Fox, from my interviews with scores of people who either used to work there or currently do, that there is a consistency to the storylines. There is a consistency to the threads. You see a varying of the decibel level and the takes. Bill O'Reilly sometimes will zig when others zag. But you see a consistency even on some of what seem to be the daytime news shows as to what's looked at and framed in a way that I think appeals to those who feel that the mainstream media is more likely to be just aimed at urban centers on the coast.
And what about the overall media bias? Where do you fit in on that? And NPR, when I look at Tavis Smiley, I look at an Alec Baldwin and some of the things that Alec Baldwin in particular has said. Again, he just got a job at MSNBC as well. It seems like the more he allegedly bashes gays and allegedly bashes blacks and calls them names and makes scenes on airplanes, the more he gets hired, the more jobs he gets. A conservative under similar circumstances would have to go kiss Al Sharpton's boots, which boggles my mind, to try to keep their job. We had Stephen Jimenez, a very accomplished journalist, openly gay, wrote a book just recently on this Matthew Shepard murder, and it didn't happen the way the storyline has been told. He has not appeared on any major news show. They don't want to touch him. Ed Klein's book, The Amateur, the hardcover, the paperback's out now. Last year, not one news show in the morning didn't touch him. They have an agenda. And if you don't fit into their agenda, they're not gonna touch you.
Well, look, there's a number of things to unpack there, right?
Sure.
A number of elements, some of which I may agree with more than others. If you look at even the New York Times, Jill Abramson, the executive editor there, I think is more comfortable saying, look, we are a more urban sensibility at the Times, and we understand that. And I think one way you can look at that is, for example, the coverage of the movement for gay rights and the movement for gay marriage, and you've seen that being viewed through the prism of the civil rights movement in the 40s, 50s, 60s, and on for African Americans gaining their full civil rights in this country. And there's an acceptance of the equation that the gay rights movement is equal to that, in a way in which I think Fox has identified that there are many people in this country who haven't looked at it that way. Now, it may be 20, 30 years from now that is the consensus of the country, but the Times is more sensitive to that, and I think that, or looks at it more in that way, and I think that does speak to a slightly more urban, a slightly more liberal, progressive outlook, even if it's not this is a partisan thing. Under Howell Raines, there were moments where things seemed a little bit more purely ideological.
With all due respect, it's not just the Times.
No,
it's the entire. It's ABC, CBS, NBC, MSNBC. It's Washington Post, New York Times. It's all these outlets.
And I think
the Gosnell trial, another example. New York Times can't bring itself to call a dead baby a dead baby. It's a dead fetus, even after it's delivered and killed. I mean, there's a million examples. Look, come back, because this is great. We're just up against a hard break. Again, the book, Murdoch's World, ladies.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Wow, you look great. Thanks. I've lost some weight. What's your secret weapon? Actually, I do in fact have one. Really?
If you're looking for help in your weight loss efforts, remember this name, Metabio. It just may be the edge you've been looking for. Metabio is the nutritional weight loss breakthrough power-packed with 5 high-quality ingredients. Metabio supports healthy metabolism and promotes fat loss. It helps maintain your optimal weight and wellness when used as part of a healthy lifestyle. Now you can receive a 30-day supply of Metabio. Simply cover a $4.95 shipping fee. Visit themetabio.com/offer for complete details. Act now and you'll also be given instant access to our downloadable special report, A Practical Guide to Healthy Weight Management. Learn how you can try Metabio for 30 days at themetabio.com/offer. That's the METABIO.com/offer. Hurry, only while supplies last at themetabio.com/offer.
Hi, this is Mike Reagan. Folks ask me, what would Ronald Reagan do if he were with us today? I believe the first thing he'd do is stop Obamacare. Already it's in effect with higher taxes, hidden fees, skyrocketing insurance rates, big Medicare cuts, and some insurance plans are hit with a 40% tax. Protect yourself by getting the Obamacare Survival Guide. It's already a #1 New York Times bestseller. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law, giving you the strategies, tips, and loopholes you need to know. If you're insured on Medicare, a business owner, a medical professional, just about anyone, you need this book.
Get the #1 bestseller, The Obamacare Survival Guide, at bookstores everywhere. Or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price by going now to Obamacare311.com. Obamacare311.com. That's Obamacare311.com.
Men, this is the time in your life when you have more freedom to travel, more time for leisure, including an active lifestyle, even a renewed intimacy. The last thing you want is the hassle of an aging prostate. Frequent trips to the bathroom also keep you awake at night. But here's good news. Renowned physician Dr. David Brownstein believes that prostate concerns do not have to be an inevitable part of aging. As a result, Dr. Brownstein has recently developed Prostate Revive, the dietary supplement specifically formulated to help improve and sustain normal prostate function. Learn more about how you can receive a 30-day supply of Prostate Revive. Just cover a $4.95 shipping fee. Visit prostaterevive.com/special for complete details. Act now, and you'll also be given instant access to our downloadable special report, A Doctor's Guide to a Healthy Prostate. While supplies last, try Prostate Revive for 30 days at prostaterevive.com/special. That's prostaterevive.com/special.
This is the worst weather we've seen in quite some time, folks, and I don't see any end in sight. People have been calling in from across the state complaining their basements are flooding. One guy said he now has an indoor swimming pool in his basement. I told him he needs the waterproofing innovations from Basement Systems. If you want a dry basement or crawl space that will weather any kind of storm, you need the patented solutions from Basement Systems. You've seen them on home makeover shows throughout the country. With a lifetime warranty, every solution is custom designed for your basement. You can finally have that room you've always wanted with our total basement finishing system. Call now for a free estimate, and you'll never have to worry about storms like these again.
Call now for your free basement inspection at 800-516-9794, 800-516-9794. Learn how to waterproof your basement now. Call this number, 800-516-9794, 800-516-9794.
Hi, this is Mike Reagan. You need to watch out because thousands of new Obamacare rules are currently being implemented, and few know what the law says or does. Listen to what Senator Max Baucus, one of the authors of the Obamacare law, recently said.
I tell you, I just see a huge train wreck coming down, and I don't see any results yet. I just see a huge train wreck.
He's right. So protect yourself from this train wreck. Get the #1 bestseller, the Obamacare Survival Guide. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law. Join more than 500,000 Americans who have their copy.
Get the #1 bestseller, the Obamacare Survival Guide, at bookstores everywhere. Or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price by going now to Obamacare311.com. Obamacare311.com. That's Obamacare311.com.
Get off the sidelines and be a part of the show. Call Steve toll-free at 1-877-NEWSMAX. That's 1-877-639-7629. Here is Steve Malzberg.
How does he say that number as if he remembers it? How does he know that 877-NEWSMAX is 639-7629 without even looking at it like I have to look at it to say it? I'll tell you, that guy, he keeps repeating it over and over and over again. He knows everything. Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. Very interesting conversation with David Folkenflik. And, you know, I could sit there and talk all day. I gave a little talk last night here in the city about media bias. And, you know, I could just go on. I could have talked all night. I could have filibustered on that issue. I could have gone on and on and on. I probably would have had to go to the bathroom, though, so I don't think it would have worked. Someone else would have had to come up. Maybe Noel Shepard could have come with me. We could have done it together. But, you know, here's a story that you're not going to hear anywhere. The Weekly Standard has it. I think it was linked on Drudge. I'm not sure. Alan Grayson, what a winner. Florida Congressman Alan Grayson used an image of a burning cross to spell Tea Party in a recent fundraising email. Now, that's the kind of thing that needs to be reported on, needs to be talked about. Excuse me. But it's not. It's not. You won't hear this anywhere else, folks. Brian Williams isn't going to do it. Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Okay, this will interest anyone with diabetes or prediabetes. And what I'm about to tell you is pretty controversial, so you want to definitely consult your doctor first. But if diabetes concerns you, there's a toll-free number you need to call, 855-500-DIABETES. At that number, they reveal what they call the one weird spice that's probably in your kitchen right now and how it normalizes blood sugar levels. Now, what they say is people who have followed this plan exactly as they will explain it to you have not only normalized their blood sugar, but stopped taking their diabetes medications with their doctor's approval, of course. You get 3 specific actions to take right now, today, to get your blood sugar level under control in 4 weeks or less. Is it possible to reverse diabetes? 855-500-DIABETES and find it.
Do you suffer from joint discomfort? Contrary to what the experts may say, achy joints do not have to be a normal part of aging. Holistic doctor David Brownstein challenged conventional thinking to focus on natural solutions for joint health. As a result, Dr. Brownstein has recently developed Limbex, the premium nutritional supplement specifically formulated to support healthy joints and connective tissue. It's a new joint breakthrough formula containing 11 hand-picked nutrients. Learn more at limbexjoint.com/special and take the 30-day Healthy Joint Challenge. That's a 30-day supply of the Limbex Joint Supplement. All you pay is a $4.95 shipping fee. Act now, and you'll also be given instant access to our downloadable special report, A Doctor's Guide to Happy, Healthy Joints at Any Age. You can do something about joint discomfort and flexibility. Learn how you can try it for 30 days at limbexjoint.com/special. That's LIMBEX joint.com/special. limbexjoint.com/special.
Hello and welcome to your Newsmax Now update. I'm Kathleen Walter. Widespread problems with the Affordable Care Act's website have triggered a backlash in Congress. Senator Marco Rubio says he'll introduce legislation to delay Obamacare's individual mandate until the technical glitches, which prevented many from signing up for health insurance online, are fixed. He says it would be wise to delay the requirement until users can consistently access the website.
It's unfair to punish people for not purchasing a product that they can't purchase right now because the technology that's in place, the website that they're supposed to buy it on, by the president's own admission, is not working. So all I'm calling for is a delay on that requirement until the General Accounting Office of the United States certifies that the website is up and working and functioning and has been functioning for 6 consecutive months. I think that's a prudent approach.
President Obama yesterday didn't rule out delaying the individual mandate, which requires individuals to buy. Police officials are looking into what caused a 13-year-old to bring a semi-automatic handgun to school and kill a teacher and then himself. The shooting happened yesterday near Reno, Nevada. Students and staff are mourning the loss of Michael Malzberg, a well-liked teacher who some are even calling a hero.
He was honestly like a second dad to me when I went there. He cared so much about the students. He said, I would help you guys. I would do anything for you guys. And I guess that meant taking a bullet. And he did.
2 students were also injured during the attack. At this time, school is closed for the rest of the week. The markets opened higher this morning. All eyes were focused on the September jobs report. It shows hiring slowed a bit last month. Employers added 148,000 jobs, but the unemployment rate fell slightly to 7.2%. The Labor Department released the numbers 2.5 weeks late because of the government shutdown. And Hurricane Raymond still causing problems off the west coast of Mexico. As of late Tuesday morning, the Category 3 storm had stalled about 100 miles away from Mexico in the Pacific. Although the storm is not expected to make landfall, there are concerns the rain bands could trigger flooding and mudslides before Raymond heads back out to sea. Coming up, former U.S. Representative and Club for Growth President Chris Chicola joins us for a Newsmax exclusive. His take on the Obamacare website woes coming up. And oh my gourd, one Indiana family takes growing pumpkins to the extreme. We'll explain straight ahead.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while
you were robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at aftbook.com. That's aftbook.com.
What is LigNet? LigNet is knowledge. LigNet is power. LigNet is global. Top-level officials, U.S. intelligence officers, national security advisors, foreign operatives, all reporting directly to you. What is LigNet? LigNet is confidential. LigNet is sensitive. LigNet is security. What is LigNet? They're the ones taking the world's pulse. If you're not in the know, you're not on lignet.com. You've been briefed.
Here's today's silver shortage update from Lear Capital.
Reports keep coming, the shortage is growing. Twice already this year, the U.S. Mint has run out. Last time this happened, the silver price jumped 40%. It's time to take advantage with this special offer from Lear Capital.
For a limited time, buy 20 new silver polar bear coins and get one free. The only 1.5 ounce coin on the market. It's minted with the finest silver, carries a government guarantee, and is eligible for IRAs. The silver polar bear is available exclusively from Lear Capital. But don't wait. Silver supplies are shrinking and availability is not guaranteed. This offer is limited to a minimum purchase of $5,000. Call right now. 800-634-0482. 800-634-0482. Call Lear Capital now. 800-634-0482.
In a Newsmax exclusive, former Representative and Club for Growth President Chris Cicciola blasted President Obama's defense of the Obamacare enrollment site, describing the president's statements as just nonsense. Cicciola of Indiana predicted that the website difficulties, as serious as they are, merely presage even larger setbacks as consumers learn more about how the complex law will affect them.
If the government can't even design and implement and start up a website, what gives people confidence they can help run 20% of the economy?
And finally, Halloween is less than a month away, but you don't have to wait for the Charlie Brown special to see the Great Pumpkin. Tom Beachy and his father David have made growing gigantic pumpkins a tradition for 15 years. The Beachys say they plan to enter it into a contest at the Indiana State Fair. Date for October 22nd.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios, this is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling toll-free 1-877-NEWSMAX. That's 1-877-639-7629. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Hour number 2 of the Tuesday edition of the Steve Malzberg Show. Coming up, you're not going to want to miss our interview with, and it's called White Girl Bleed a Lot. It's about the many, very scantily reported, if at all, underreported cases of black violence against whites, Asians, gays, etc., and it's scary stuff. And the media has no interest, none whatsoever. But you get a Trayvon Martin case, and oh boy, you know what happens. Okay, so now they're trying to make Dick Cheney into somebody who is mentally impaired. We know about Dick Cheney's history of heart problems from the time he was in his 30s, the heart attacks, the stent, the transplant. But now I want you to hear Sanjay Gupta on 60 Minutes with Dick Cheney, trying to make him out to be somebody who was less than competent mentally, shall we say, during his time as Vice President of the United States. Here's cut 14.
The precariousness of Cheney's physical health raises questions about his state of mind when he was helping make decisions, including those about war and peace.
You had 4 heart attacks, 3 catheterizations at this point, a defibrillator, bypass surgery.
Right.
Did you worry about your physical health impacting your judgment and your cognition?
No.
Not at all?
No.
Were you the best that you could be?
Well, I was as good as I could be, given the fact that I was 60-some years old at that point and a heart patient.
Cheney didn't want to acknowledge numerous studies that show a significant connection between severe heart disease and memory loss, depression, a decline in decision-making abilities, and impaired cognition, or that he could be one of the many patients vulnerable to these side effects.
Yeah, he, Reagan, any Republican, they were crazy, they were senile. Now you got a heart disease, you can't function in a capacity of importance and decision-making because it's going to affect the oxygen to your brain. You getting this? This is only for Dick Cheney. Here's cut 15.
Did they talk at all about potential side effects, again, because of limited blood flow to the brain, on cognition, on judgment? No. Was that something that you had heard about in any way? You didn't know about it, you weren't worried about it?
No.
Both?
No one wasn't worried about it.
Did anyone counsel you at all on that?
Not that I recall.
What about even things like depression?
No.
No. So, how about, did you ever forget anything? Like, did you ever forget where you put your car keys? Yes, once or twice. Aha! You see? That's why we went to war. That's why you waterboarded people. That's why you were so evil. I told you your memory was affected. But all I did was misplace my car keys. That's because of the lack of oxygen to your brain. Because you had all those heart problems. You see? I'm telling you, these people are nuts. Nuts. There's not a greater American, more dedicated public servant than Dick Cheney, who did what he thought was right for the country in the aftermath of 9/11. And so he's heart attacks. You ever forget things affecting your brain? Hey, why don't we ask Barack Obama if smoking dope locked up in a van so the smoke wouldn't escape from the windows affects his brain? Oh, we can't do that. Why don't you ask him about the effects of illegal drugs on his brain right now? And if he's the best he could be. Give me a break. I mean, for crying out loud. Sanjay Gupta, what a disgrace. What a disgraceful. You owe that man an apology. A big apology. But I won't hold my breath because you're disgraceful. Didn't Obama want you to be his Surgeon General? Gee, ask him about his drug use. Ask him about smoking. Hey, he was a heavy smoker. Some say he might still smoke. Does that affect the oxygen to the brain, Sanjay? Give me it is so aggravating. So aggravating. I wouldn't even mind it if you then brought up Barack Obama and the drugs. But the media hasn't mentioned it once, ever. But Dick Cheney, he was incapacitated on the Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Okay, this will interest anyone with diabetes or pre-diabetes. And what I'm about to tell you is pretty controversial, so you want to definitely consult your doctor first. But if diabetes concerns you, there's a toll-free number you need to call, 855-500-DIABETES. At that number, they reveal what they call the one weird spice that's probably in your kitchen right now and how it normalizes blood sugar levels. Now, what they say is people who have followed this plan exactly as they will explain it to you have not only normalized their blood sugar, but stopped taking their diabetes medications with their doctor's approval, of course. You get 3 specific actions to take right now, today, to get your blood sugar level under control in 4 weeks or less. Is it possible to reverse diabetes? 855-500-DIABETES and find out now. Check with your doctor, of course, because I'm not giving you medical advice here. But if you have diabetes or are worried about your blood sugar, I think you should call 855-500-DIABETES. 855-500-DIABETES.
Hello, my name is Fred Fleitz, and I'm the managing editor of Lignet. You've probably seen our name preceding some of the stories you read on Newsmax or heard Lignet referenced on Fox News, C-SPAN, or CNN. Perhaps you've asked yourself, what is Lignet? Lignet is an acronym for the Langley Intelligence Group Network, a private Washington, D.C. based service that provides global intelligence, in-depth analysis, and detailed forecasting.
Who is Lignet?
LigNet's staff and advisors include former CIA officers, national security experts, presidential advisors, and top-level government officials from around the world. I myself held several national security posts for the U.S. government during my 25-year career with the Central Intelligence Agency, the Defense Intelligence Agency, the U.S. Department of State, and the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. Our lead advisor is General Michael Hayden, the former director of the CIA. He is joined by former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations John Bolton and former chairman of the National Intelligence Council and Special Assistant to President Ronald Reagan Fritz Ehrmann, former U.S. Ambassador to Venezuela Otto Reich, and former clandestine service officer Frederick Russman. Former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee Peter Hoekstra also joined our advisory board staff.
What is LigNet's mission?
Every day our goal is to use our expertise, our resources, and our worldwide staff to take the pulse of the ever-changing political and economic landscape and the threats we face on a daily basis. Whether you are following global events for your portfolio or business, or just interested in the world around you, LigNet provides what you need to know to keep up with global events.
What are the benefits of joining LigNet?
There are many. Every day, LigNet members receive the Morning Brief, a daily email that provides summaries and links to our daily analysis to keep you up to date on LigNet's assessments. LigNet members receive unrestricted access to LigNet's secure database of global analysis. All of our special reports, previous analyses, and exclusive video interviews with intelligence insiders are available to members 24 hours a day. But you also get top-notch analysis that resembles the President's Daily Brief, the classified intelligence assessment delivered to the President of the United States every morning. LigNet also sends breaking news emails to our membership list. If there is a development of global proportions or a terror alert, our subscribers are always the first to know. I hope you now have a better understanding of what LigNet is, but more importantly, recognize how truly invaluable LigNet can be. As the old saying goes, knowledge is power.
Join LigNet for $1. Go to lignet.com/radio.
Breaking news and breaking hearts. Aww. This is the Steve Malzberg Show.
And welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show, ladies and gentlemen. And we turn our attention to a very serious issue, one which, surprise, surprise, you won't hear about in the mainstream media. For instance, an attack that happened on Monday, October 14th, not far from where I'm sitting in good old Brooklyn, New York, where I am originally from. A group of 10 black youths, one of them a 12-year-old girl, pummeled a husband and wife in Brooklyn after peppering the couple with racial slurs. Get those crackers, some of them screamed, according to court papers. Get that white whore. The confrontation erupted about 7 o'clock in the evening as the marauding group crossed Avenue U at East 58th Street near Kings Plaza Shopping Mall, where my mom used to work when I was a kid. And Ron Russo, 30, his wife Valana, had the green light. The husband honked at the group to get out of the way, and that was the end of it. You don't honk a group of rowdy kids. Now, this was black on white crime. Now, I could go just to another recent story. Pack of black youths terrorized the city. This is out of Raleigh, North Carolina. That was October 5th story. If you want to go back a little bit let's see. Family picnic turns to horror thanks to black mob. That's a headline. That was from June of this year. You want to go back to 2011. Black mobs attack white patrons outside the Wisconsin State Fair. But, folks, it's happening in Baltimore, Philly, Chicago, New York, St. Louis, but in other places where you wouldn't expect it to happen. And joining us now is a man who has written so many of these stories and has now written a book about all of this. It's called White Girl Bleed a Lot. And we welcome in our investigative reporter who's done such great work on this and other issues, and you've read him in various publications, and you've seen his work all over, especially at worldnetdaily.com. And we welcome in Colin Flaherty. Hey, Colin, how are you?
Honored to be here.
Well, honored to have you because you have the guts to write about and talk about what people won't write about and talk about. Now, first of all, explain the title of the book.
Well, the book is about epidemic of black mob violence all over the country, and even crazier, how the press ignores, condones, excuses, and even denies it. So the title of the book comes from Milwaukee, July the 4th. 50 to 100 black people looted a convenience store on video. They took their candy and groceries to a nearby park where they ran into 10 white kids, where they beat them up really badly. At one point, a black woman is standing over a white woman. She motions to her friends. She looks down at the woman and says, "White girl bleed a lot."
Yeah.
Everybody thought that was very funny.
Yeah. No, I remember that incident.
The police did not even take a report until the people went to talk radio. They went to they started kicking up a fuss. Multiply that by 5, 6, 7, 800. That's what the book is about.
And I mean, obviously, it doesn't fit the agenda of the mainstream media at all, as so many issues don't. But this is violence. I mean, this is different than, a book written by Stephen Jimenez that says Matthew Shepard wasn't murdered the way he was murdered. This was different than, favoring one political party over another. This is different than saying, global warming is real and it's man-made. This is violence. This is people getting beaten up, getting killed, getting maimed, and they still ignore it. Why is that?
I'm glad you said what you just said, because that's exactly the way I look at it. The violence really strikes at the foundation of a civilized society, and so that's how important I see it too. I don't do the why the reporters ignore it. I only document how they ignore it over and over and over and over, and how astonished I am that they do that.
Yeah, and I should read the title of the book is "White Girl Bleed a Lot," and then the return of racial violence to America and how the media ignore it. And you could point to, there are so many really chilling, horrific stories in this book. And before we get to that, but there's been a rash. I mean, in the last year or so, and in the last few months, I mean, we just came off, I guess, the summer. Maybe that peaks it. But then again, I mean, you see so much of it on video for those outlets online, and that will show it, and WND that gets its hands on these videos. When you see these mobs running into a store, when you read about these stories of what happens in a McDonald's or in a fast food restaurant or in the parking lot, and these white victims getting really just beaten senseless, and it's frightening. It really is frightening.
Sometimes the victims are white, sometimes they're Asian, sometimes they're gay, sometimes they're old, young, sometimes they're black. You don't have to go back months. Let's just talk about the last 7 days. You mentioned Brooklyn. What about New Haven, Connecticut over the last week? There were 500 black people who left something called an all-black affair. They left this party, fought at the party, went outside, fought outside, destroyed property outside, and did this at 2 other places, Virginia State University, an all-black college. 200 to 300 black people rampaged through the college, fighting, destroying property. One person got arrested. Nobody got arrested in New Haven. What about last month in a suburb of Rochester? 500 black people fighting at a movie theater. Then they take the fight outside. The police had to take out batons and were fighting with a lot of these people. Nobody got arrested. I'm telling you, this is University of Minnesota last week, just a few days ago, on campus. A group of black people were beating and robbing white students on Saturday night. This is just a few nights ago. And so this is happening. What about in New York? The train going from New York to Hoboken just a few nights ago. A group of black people rampaged through the train, beating and robbing people. So this is happening at epidemic levels. Very nasty stuff. Right, nobody's connecting the dots. That's why I wrote the book.
All right. Nobody's connecting the dots. Now, that means, in my mind, that you see dots that would connect these. And do you believe? Well, you go ahead. I won't even ask the question. You connect the dots for me. Why do you think that this is resurfaced? Why do you think this is happening?
I don't know why. I wrote the book because I wrote the book for people who deny it's happening, and so. I didn't think it would be a very good idea to try to explain something if people did not even believe it was happening. So when I say connect the dots, here's what I mean. I mean, like, okay, so in Brooklyn, it was actually an unusual case where the people involved actually used racial epithets against that white couple.
Mm-hmm.
They put a little bow on it. Just because somebody doesn't say the little magic words, exact same thing happened in Schenectady, by the way, a few weeks ago. By itself, every incident is not important. But when you do look at them over a period of a year or two, and how often they occur, and how exponentially disproportionate it is black mob violence, that's what I'm talking about. That's why I say that these are racial events.
We're talking to Colin Flaherty, author of White Girl Bleed a Lot, The Return of Racial Violence to America and How the Media Ignore It. You don't think, no, I don't think, because I don't think that these kids know this, but, when we have a civil rights department in this country that, according to one of the career workers there in that department, left because he said they're only interested in prosecuting violations against blacks and not violations against whites. I guess it doesn't trickle down to street level that quickly, or through the news. I don't think kids pick up on that. But let's talk about talk about Beat Whitey Night. Where was Beat Whitey Night?
So Beat Whitey Night is at the Iowa State Fair for 3 nights in a row. Groups of black people inside and outside the Iowa State Fair were beating white people. A police officer put it in a report. People were shouting, "Beat Whitey Night." So here's the punchline of the story.
No pun intended, but go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sorry. The cops go to Laurie. The cop spokeswoman was Laurie Loverato. And the reporters go to Laurie and say, "Hey, what's up with all these black people beating up all these white people? Is that happening?" She said, "Yeah, it's happening. Don't know why, but it's happening." She got fired the next day for that.
Really?
Telling the truth about racial violence in Des Moines, Iowa. Now, if it happens in Des Moines, it's also happening in Cedar Rapids. Forget New York, forget the Bronx, forget Brooklyn. What do you think the rest of the country is like?
Yeah, and then there's one more where the police chief of Chicago blamed racial violence on Sarah Palin and the Pilgrims. And that's not a rock group, by the way. Those are two distinct entities. Yeah.
And that's kind of the psychiatrists tell us we're only as sick as our secrets. So what are we more secretive about than race and racial violence? And all of a sudden, all this sick stuff all over the country is becoming normal. So we ask a police chief in Chicago, "Chief, what is responsible for this incredible level of violence in the black community?" And he said he blamed it on the Pilgrims or Sarah Palin. 10 years ago, I wouldn't have believed that, because I would have said somebody's making that up. But then I saw it on video, both things. I put the videos, links to the video in the book.
Unreal.
And so that's how crazy this whole denial and situation
It is. That's why I just gave a speech yesterday on media bias, and that's why this book is must reading. There are bad white people too, but we hear about them, and there are bad white kids, and we hear about them. If a group of whites ever went after blacks, we would hear about it, rightfully so. And so should we hear about it when it's the other way, whether they're going after whites or Asians or whomever, but we don't. And it's a shame, and thanks for writing the book, White Girl Bleed a Lot, and good luck with it. Colin Flaherty, and we'll speak again, sir.
All the best, sir.
Thank you. All right, here it is, folks. I'm holding it up. For those of you watching at Newsmax TV, in my left hand, looks like the right hand on the screen, but it's really the left hand because the TV turns it around. We'll do a lesson in that on another day. All right, folks, we're coming back. Steve Malzberg. When we do come back, we'll be joined by John Fund, our friend John Fund, right here on the Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
If you're a man over 40, your prostate could be forcing you to urinate frequently, even disrupting your sleep multiple times each night. You're not alone. Over half of men over 40 experience age-related prostate concerns. Fortunately, prominent medical doctor David Brownstein believes that aging prostate concerns are not inevitable. That's why Dr. Brownstein developed Prostate Revive, an advanced dietary supplement containing a unique blend of 15 ingredients designed to promote optimal prostate health. So men, as part of this new radio promotion, you now have the opportunity to claim your own 30-day supply of Prostate Revive, containing saw palmetto, beta-cytosterol, and numerous other prostate helpers. Just cover a $4.95 shipping and handling charge. Plus, if you act now, you'll also get a doctor's guide to a healthy prostate as a bonus gift. Please visit prostaterevive.com/radio for details on getting your 30-day supply of Prostate Revive and free report. That's prostaterevive.com/radio. Do something about those annoying age-related prostate concerns. Visit prostaterevive.com/radio now while supplies last.
Attention hip implant patients. Are you in constant pain? Have you received a letter from your doctor about your implant? Have you had or need a revision surgery? Do you have high levels of metal, chromium, or cobalt in your blood? Over 90,000 hip implant devices have been recalled due to defects and failures resulting in revision or replacement surgery. If you have a recalled hip implant, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Call 800-460-0920 to see if your implant is affected by the recalls. If you or a loved one has a defective or recalled hip implant, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Call 800-460-0920. That's 800-460-0920. Protect your legal rights today. Call 800-460-0920. This is an advertisement, not valid in all states. Paid non-attorney spokesperson. iLawsuit.com is an advertising group that represents lawyers advertising their services and is a free matching service for consumers. It is not a law firm or lawyer referral service.
Have you hit a brick wall with your weight loss? Does your weight management plan need an extra edge for success? If so, listen up. Metabio is the revolutionary weight loss breakthrough designed to help you reach your goal weight as part of your diet and exercise program. Metabio is the premium nutritional supplement, power-packed with 5 high-quality ingredients. When used as part of a healthy lifestyle, each component is formulated to help you reach your goals and maintain your optimal weight and wellness. It supports healthy metabolism and promotes fat loss. Now, learn how you can try a 30-day supply of Metabio. Just cover a $4.95 shipping fee. Visit themetabio.com/special. Act now and also receive instant access to our downloadable special report, a practical guide to healthy weight management. Try it now at themetabio.com/special. That's the metabio.com/special. While supplies last. themetabio.com/special.
When you were younger, you probably never considered your heart health. But cardiologist Dr. Chauncey Crandall knows from experience that taking steps to care for your heart becomes more crucial as the decades pass, if you want to keep this vital organ ticking smoothly for years to come. That's why Dr. Crandall recently developed Cardio Advanced, a nutritional supplement containing 12 special ingredients, all selected to help improve and maintain your heart health and normal cholesterol levels. The flagship of this exclusive formula, esterified plant sterols, may help lower your risk of heart disease when taken as part of a diet low in cholesterol and fat. And great news, now you have the opportunity to try a 30-day supply of Cardio Advanced. Simply cover a $4.95 shipping and handling charge. Plus, if you act right now, you'll also receive a free doctor's guide to a healthy heart as a special bonus. Please visit cardioadvanced.com/radio for complete details on claiming your 30-day bottle of Cardio Advanced and free report. That's cardioadvanced.com/radio. Life is too precious to ignore your heart health. Visit cardioadvanced.com/radio now while supplies last.
This is not your typical Screamfest talk show.
No.
This is the next generation of talk radio. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show, where we have some breaking news on a lawsuit filed that could affect, eventually, Obamacare. It will not affect it today, and I'll explain all that here. A federal judge refusing to dismiss a lawsuit challenging the legality of Obamacare subsidies, which are distributed by the IRS to people enrolling in the system. The Department of Justice had argued for months that the lawsuit should be dismissed. It was not dismissed. However, the judge will not issue an injunction to stop the IRS from issuing those subsidies. So Obamacare theoretically will move forward, but the lawsuit will move forward as well. Joining us now for his take on that and more on the, dreaded Obamacare or the gift that keeps on giving, or how do we view it, is our friend John Fund, Newsmax contributor. Hello, sir.
A pleasure. Thank you.
So, what is Obamacare?
Well, it's a bunch of exchanges in which you're supposed to shop for health care.
No, I know that, but I mean,
you can't shop for health care. This is the worst rollout of a new product since New Coke. It just, what is it? Max Baucus, the Democratic chairman of the Finance Committee, said it was a train wreck.
Yes.
That's an insult to train wrecks. Trains, at least, were going before they wrecked.
Right.
This thing didn't even get going. So, bottom line, there's an unconstitutional problem with Obamacare that even John Roberts in the Supreme Court didn't address 2 years ago, or last year, I should say. The exchanges that are set up in the law were supposed to be state exchanges. Mm-hmm. And the subsidies are only supposed to be given through exchanges set up by each individual state.
Right.
The problem is the states didn't trust Obamacare, so many of them opted out. They also opted out of Medicaid once the Supreme Court allowed them.
Those residents,
36 states allowed the federal government to set up its own exchange. That's the one that's broken. That's not working.
Right.
Where you call the 800 number and they refer you to healthcare.gov and you go on healthcare.gov.
No, what I liked was when Obama said, or come or go there yourself. Where do you go?
To the navigators who don't have any criminal background checks, who can steal all your data and rob you
just drive
blind.
around and look for the sign that says Obamacare Navigators.
Exactly.
Anyway, all right, so I interrupted. I'm sorry.
The law clearly contradicts itself. The IRS basically issued a ruling saying, well, we're going to issue the subsidies to everyone, including those in the federal exchange in those 36 states.
Right.
So the Attorney General of Oklahoma and 15 other attorneys general from other states, along with some individuals and businesses, have said these exchanges are a violation of the law. And if you read the plain language, they clearly are.
Right.
Now, I know this district judge. He probably is not going to rule in favor of this lawsuit, which means it goes to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia.
Paul Friedman, the district judge.
Yeah. And he's, I would say, given his background, although I can always be wrong, he's unlikely to rule in favor of the plaintiffs. So then it goes to the U.S. District Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia, where it has a much better chance. Depends on which three-judge panel you get. I believe there is a real live chance these exchanges will be declared, the subsidies to these exchanges will be declared unconstitutional. Yeah. Then it goes to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court will have had 2 years of looking at what Obamacare has wrought. I think there is a decent chance that John Roberts will say, well, there's some things I didn't quite contemplate, including this, that it's not working. So I think we may have another shot at this, is what the bottom line is.
Yeah, no, very, very interesting.
And if you get rid of the subsidies,
absolutely, then
you're getting rid of one of the hearts of Obamacare.
Yeah. No, so this is something obviously that bears watching, and we watch it. It's going to take a while, but we will keep an eye on it. Okay, you wrote a great piece at National Review, the reality check for healthcare.gov. Today the latest, I guess, is that Verizon is now on board. They're going to fix everything. Verizon. We had a tech expert on yesterday that everybody's had on. He runs a software, computer security company, whatever, and he said he could do it. He said, look, the various plans side by side, like if you're on a Best Buy website or a Sports Authority website, you want to compare sneakers or whatever, to do that, and then to have another section or page or whatever program where you could put your income and how many your dependents and whatever, and figure out what subsidies you might be entitled to. He said $1 million tops. We've spent $600 million plus for something that is inept and can't work. I mean, wow.
Well, now, of course, they're having a tech surge. The same thing that had to be done because the war in Iraq was not going so badly. They're going to use this strategy to throw resources at healthcare. The problem is if you talk to anyone in the IT departments, they will tell you too many cooks spoil the broth. Just throwing more people at a problem isn't necessarily solving it. It can complicate it. Also, now, in one respect, they probably do need more people. They have 5 million lines of code that they have to rewrite. The best tech experts I talk to say that it'll be months before this thing gets straightened out. Then we run into the problem of deadlines. On January 1st, which is barely 2 months away, every American will legally have to be required to have health insurance. Now, you have to prove that to the IRS by April 15th when you file your taxes at the latest. March 31st is the end of the enrollment deadline.
Right.
But it turns out that the real reality, because the IRS software is so gummed up and the reporting is so slow, you basically have to do this by February 15th. A lot of people are going to be very surprised.
Oh, boy.
Now, the fine is not trivial. Everyone says it's $95. No, it's $95 or up to 1% of your income, whichever is greater. 1% of your income is a lot for a struggling family.
Absolutely.
So you may see millions of Americans who technically are violating the law as of January the 1st. and they don't have any way to get health insurance because the exchange is broken. I think you're going to see a revolt that may equal what happened in 1989 when Congress passed a catastrophic health care plan. What didn't work. Seniors rose up. Remember Dan Rostenkowski, the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, was chased down the street.
Yes, famously.
And Congress repealed it. Now, I don't think because Obama has so much invested in this, that's going to happen.
Right.
I mean, this has become the achievement, if you can call it that, of his administration.
But some kind of delay,
there will be
right?
enormous pressure from Democratic senators up for election in 2014. Yep. They don't want this hanging over their head, constituents complaining because it's premium shock, it's sticker shock, people are having their coverage dropped by employers. It's a mess. So, ironically, the government shutdown was all about the Republicans demanding a one-year delay in the implementation of Obamacare for individuals, since he gave them companies a delay of 1 year. And he didn't take that deal. He said, I'm not even going to consider that deal. That's why we have the government shutdown. He may rue the day that he didn't take them up on that deal because it might have been the best possible thing for him. Because it gets this off the table.
But now, I mean, I think it'll happen. I've been reading that the White House and Jay Carney, if you parse Jay Carney's answer on delaying the the requirement to sign up for individuals, he didn't give an absolute no. Democratic senators, as you alluded to, I don't know which ones in particular, are more and more on board with the idea of delaying it. So it looks like it's inevitable because, I mean, first of all, the 500 lines that have to be rewritten.
5 million.
5 million, I'm sorry. The guy I spoke to said if you rewrite these 5 million, whatever.
Code lines of code.
For a program that's wrong and not working in the first place, you're just rewriting more lines and it still won't work. He says you got to do the whole thing over again. That's what he said.
Well, then it is inevitable. But of course, this we laugh about it. But the sad thing is, there are people who do want to buy insurance. There are people who do have health conditions. There are people involved who are suffering, and this is not helping them. It's making things worse.
Yeah.
And I really believe that in the 2014 election, if the Republicans play their cards right, and they have to propose an alternative, they do have them, but they're just not getting any media coverage. But the alternative is patient-centered health care. More patients control more of the dollars, and they make the decisions about where their health care dollars go. They get to shop around in a real marketplace. A lot of the problems with these health care plans Obama is offering is they're Cadillac plans. They include everything from mental health coverage to hair transplants if you're balding.
And they're required to. You're required to have that coverage even though you don't want it.
And what a lot of people want is just the peace of mind.
Right.
I want basic health care coverage for my kids, and I want a deductible I can live with, etc. Don't give me everything else. Idaho has very cheap insurance. They have 9 mandates in their insurance plan. California has 118. So you do the math. We need to go back to patient-centered consumer choice health care. If the Republicans continue to bash Obamacare, that's fine. But if they also posit a real alternative to people's legitimate concerns about health care, I think the 2014 elections could be a rout. And that sets everything all up for 2016.
I love your scenario. We're talking to John Fund here on the Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax contributor, and of course his columns appear frequently in other publications and sites like National Review Online. I just wish the Republicans, you said there are plans out there. They have plans, but what they need to do is hold a press conference and say, we know you guys like the donut hole thing closed, whatever. We know you like no pre-existing conditions. We know you like this, and here's what we're going to do. Hold up 2 pieces of paper and say,
Steve,
next to the 1,800 pieces, say, here's our plan.
Steve, I attended such a press conference held by Dr. Tom Price, who's a physician.
Yeah.
He had his own proposal. He held a press conference with Dr. Tom Coburn of Oklahoma, who's also a physician. And well, obviously, you didn't hear about it, and you read a lot.
No, but
I didn't hear about it, and I read a lot.
And you write a lot.
And I write. But so the bottom line is,
but they need Boehner and McConnell and the whole leadership.
There has to be a lot of imaginative. Maybe Dr. Ben Carson is someone who you need to bring forward, and because he has managed to get some attention. I think you need a national spokesman for the alternative to Obamacare, and it's probably going to have to be someone who doesn't look like just another white guy in a suit in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, but it would also, if you had the right white guys,
they had Price and Coburn are doctors.
Yes, I understand that, but you need the gravitas of them being, with the leadership.
They're pretty gravitas.
No,
Coburn and Price have both been in leadership.
Absolutely,
I understand
that.
I think we need someone like Ben Carson or someone like that to carry the message and become a national spokesman.
I'm trying to think who else could be. I don't know. George W. Bush would be the wrong answer, but somebody get someone. I don't know. Get somebody out there to do it. You're absolutely right. Why haven't they? Why are they sitting on this? And by the way, we're going to go through. In 3 months, 4 months, we're going through this whole shutdown again.
I'll make you a guess that I don't think even the Republicans imagined Obamacare was going to be as bad as this website has turned out.
No.
So I thought that some of them probably thought they could take cheap political shots, stir up the troops, get the base riled up, and they didn't really think Obamacare was ever really going to go away or implode. Well, it just might.
So they weren't ready.
Now you really have to have a plan. Because remember, if something collapses, something will fill a vacuum, and it better be your plan, or else we're going to go to single payer. And by the way, those who want single payer Canadian style, just remember, the lead contractor for this website, CGI Group, is a Canadian company that was fired by the province of Ontario for incompetence in not delivering a website on time.
And who
does that sound familiar?
And who should be fired from this government for hiring that allegedly incompetent website provider that we now paid $600 million
Barack
to.
Obama once said responsibility begins at the very top.
Yeah, right. Not for him though. The very top.
Did you see yesterday? That wasn't a speech. That was an infomercial.
Oh my gosh!
It's a good product. It's a good deal.
I want the cash registers to go ka-ching, ka-ching. What? Who am I listening to here?
I almost thought it should be relegated to the Home Shopping Channel.
And then the woman. I'm glad she's okay. Almost faints, and she's on every talk show in the country later that day. It seemed a little staged to me, to be honest with you.
Well, I just thought it was a natural reaction to someone listening to Barack Obama talk about Obamacare. They become ill.
Well, seriously, if you Google it, I'm sure you've seen it over the years. Women faint at his speeches. I don't know if it's staged. I don't know what it is, but traditionally from 2008 on, someone fainted. You got water? Then he diagnoses them. She probably didn't eat enough. The next time it's, she needs some air. Give her some air. And this one, she probably didn't get enough rest. Too hot.
He went into the wrong line of work. He should have
Dr.
gone into
Obama.
medicine.
Absolutely. Then he could cut off legs instead of treating the diabetes, so he could get a big paycheck.
Leg panels.
Great to see you, sir. John
pleasure.
Fun,
Thanks.
ladies and gentlemen. We're coming back. 877 Newsmax, 877-639-7629 on the Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Okay, this will interest anyone with diabetes or pre-diabetes. And what I'm about to tell you is pretty controversial, so you want to definitely consult your doctor first. But if diabetes concerns you, there's a toll-free number you need to call, 855-500-DIABETES. At that number, they reveal what they call the one weird spice that's probably in your kitchen right now and how it normalizes blood sugar levels. Now, what they say is people who have followed this plan exactly as they will explain it to you have not only normalized their blood sugar, but stopped taking their diabetes medications with their doctor's approval, of course. You get 3 specific actions to take right now, today, to get your blood sugar level under control in 4 weeks or less. Is it possible to reverse diabetes? 855-500-DIABETES and find out now. Check with your doctor, of course, because I'm not giving you medical advice here. But if you have diabetes or are worried about your blood sugar, I think you should call 855-500-DIABETES. 855-500-DIABETES.
Hi, this is Mike Reagan. Folks ask me, what would Ronald Reagan do if he were with us today? I believe the first thing he'd do is stop Obamacare. Already it's in effect, with higher taxes, hidden fees, skyrocketing insurance rates, big Medicare cuts. And some insurance plans are hit with a 40% tax. Protect yourself by getting the Obamacare Survival Guide. It's already a #1 New York Times bestseller. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law, giving you the strategies, tips, and loopholes you need to know. If you're insured on Medicare, a business owner, a medical professional, just about anyone, you need this book.
Get the #1 bestseller, The Obamacare Survival Guide, at bookstores everywhere. Or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price by going now to Obamacare311.com. Obamacare311.com. That's Obamacare311.com.
Do you have trouble remembering things you've known for years of research? Dr. Russell Blaylock discovered 4 essential nutrients that help sustain optimal brain function. Dr. Russell Blaylock then personally formulated Crescio, the dietary supplement containing these 4 brain boosters that promote brain cognitive health, improve learning and retention. Crescio supports brain circulation and provides antioxidant protection. And now you can receive a 30-day supply of Crescio. All you pay is a $4.95 shipping fee. Visit Crescio.com/special. Act now and use for peak mental performance. Give your brain the healthy support it needs. Learn how you can receive your 30-day supply at Crescio.com/special. That's CRESCEO.com/special. Crescio.com/special.
If you are successful at what you do, whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, a business owner, or you have a great career, you understand the concept of protecting yourself. Well, are you protecting yourself, your family, and your assets with quality term life insurance? Consider these possible rates. A man age 45 non-tobacco user could obtain $1 million of coverage for as little as $75 a month, and this rate is fixed for the next 10 years. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. A man age 50 non-tobacco user may be able to obtain $500,000 of coverage for as little as $115 a month. And this rate is fixed for the next 20 years. We have great rates for smokers too. Call the Term Lifeline now. 800-430-1309, 800-430-1309, 800-430-1309.
Bad credit card debt happens to good people. Credit card companies lure you in with low introductory rates or low minimum payments, and before you know it, you owe thousands of dollars in credit card debt. It has happened to millions of good people just like you. But here's the good news. Thanks to a powerful program now approved, anyone with $2,000 or more in credit card debt can cut their credit card payments up to half and even reduce or eliminate interest charges altogether. That's right. Our nationwide nonprofit program is helping U.S. residents cut their credit card payments. Call 800-613-3159 now. The call and information are free. We've helped over 500,000 people with their credit card debt, and now we can help you. Call 800-613-3159 to see how this powerful nonprofit program can work for you. Bad credit card debt happens to good people. Get free of credit card debt today. Call 800-613-3159. That's 800-613-3159. Again, 800-613-3159.
The Steve Malzberg Show is just a bit different from the other radio shows. We have TV cameras. Watch the show at Newsmax.com or listen on your favorite radio station. Here's Steve Malzberg.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we played this at the top of the show if you were with us in our introduction in the previous hour to Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky. And I just got to play this again. This is not a spoof. This is an actual ad for the Affordable Care Act from HHS, Kathleen Sebelius's organization, department, and Health and Human Services, of course. Just listen to cut 19 again.
My name's Daniel, and I'm going to college for computer science. I enrolled in a plan on healthcare.gov. Already had health insurance, but I just wanted to see if I could do a little bit better on the health insurance marketplace, and I did. Once I was on the site, it was pretty easy for me to compare plans. I was able to pick a much higher quality plan, and because of my income as a student, I only pay about $70 a month for it. Getting coverage this good at this price, I'm thrilled. And hey, I'm covered.
You can be covered too. Go to the health insurance marketplace at healthcare.gov.
That is not a joke. That is actually produced with our money. With our money. I thought, this could be something from The Onion or something, but no, it's real. It's absolutely real. It's absolutely insane, but it's absolutely real. You want to hear more insanity while we're here? Listen to, by the way, Jay Carney walked out of the press conference today, eventually. He got so many questions on the messed up computer system that he said, I'm not a computer expert, and he walked out. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Listen to Chuck Todd to Jay Carney yesterday Chuck Todd, White House correspondent, NBC News, and left-wing talk show host on MSNBC at the same time. It's a fine line they walk, you know. Can't let any of that prejudice seep into the NBC Nightly News with Brian Williams, who himself has such an albatross around his neck. He has to relate all these terribly hard, difficult, complicated stories to the average idiot out there. Yes, Brian, the albatross around your neck. Anyway, here is Chuck Todd saying basically, how did they let Obama go out there and look like a fool? Here's cut 20.
Who misled him? Who misled the president on this? Are you telling me 5 days before that somebody let the president go out to the American public to give this speech and say this and make this promise? In fact, the next line is, I promise you, this is a lot easier. It's like booking a hotel or a plane ticket. Who let him down?
Look, the president's frustrated. He made that clear in his remarks today. And we're focused on making improvements so that the millions of Americans who want affordable health insurance are getting the best consumer experience possible, as opposed to Monday morning quarterbacking.
The best consumer experience possible. Not just, relative ease, but the best. Barack Obama wants this to be number one in consumer experiences. Yeah. You better give away a free car going forward to make it the best number one consumer experience ever. Anyway, here's Al Sharpton. Al Sharpton claiming Republicans are rooting for failure. You think so? I don't know, Al. Here's cut 18.
Nobody's more frustrated by that than I am.
No sugarcoating it. For right-wingers trying to follow along, that's what we call a candid, honest assessment. But then he addressed conservatives on the right who are rooting for failure.
I recognize that the Republican Party has made blocking the Affordable Care Act its signature policy idea. Sometimes it seems to be the one thing that unifies the party these days. But it's time for folks to stop rooting for its failure. Because hard-working, middle-class families are rooting for its success.
It's one thing to dislike a policy, but to attack it with lies and fear is quite another thing.
Look, folks, I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say about that. It is just always mind-boggling to me that Al Sharpton is where Al Sharpton is. Do we got another one? We got another goodie? Let's see. Yeah, maybe it's Obama who's responsible for his own screw-up. Charles Krauthammer, who's going to be a guest on this show within the next few days, I believe. This will be cut 22, Will. Listen to cut 22. And Al Sharpton, I suggest you listen up. And Chuck Todd, you listen up, too.
He gave this speech in which he said, the product is great. The price is wonderful. We have a little problem at the checkout counter.
Yeah, but after
That's
3.5 years
right.
and tens of millions of dollars, you shouldn't have a little problem at
But
the checkout.
that's the point. I mean, he's pretending this thing doesn't exist, that it's a glitch, and that somehow it's the Republicans, because of all the criticism of this, who poisoned the well. The fact is they had 3.5 years,
That's
and
right.
they completely screwed it up. And the product, I mean, in some sense, it's saving them, because if people were able to get access to the product, they would know that it isn't cheap and it isn't good.
Yeah. It's a blessing in disguise, says Charles Krauthammer, because the product isn't cheap and isn't good. And as John Funn so eloquently put it, you're required to have these plans that cover, things you don't need and you don't want. But the government knows best what's best for you and me and everyone. And one size fits all. And you will do what the government says or else. So anyway, that's where we are. What can I tell you? Those of you sticking around, Michael Macy, founder and president of the nonprofit In His Name Ministries, will be with us, and Peter Morici will be with us as well, the famed economist, to talk about The latest with the jobs report and the J.P. Morgan lawsuit on the Steve Malzberg Show. Don't go away.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Okay, this will interest anyone with diabetes or pre-diabetes. And what I'm about to tell you is pretty controversial, so you want to definitely consult your doctor first. But if diabetes concerns you, there's a toll-free number you need to call, 855-500-DIABETES. At that number, they reveal what they call the one weird spice that's probably in your kitchen right now and how it normalizes blood sugar levels. Now, what they say is people who have followed this plan exactly as they will explain it to you have not only normalized their blood sugar, but stopped taking their diabetes medications with their doctor's approval, of course. You get 3 specific actions to take right now, today, to get your blood sugar level under control in 4 weeks or less. Is it possible to reverse diabetes? 855-500-DIABETES and find out now. Check with your doctor, of course, because I'm not giving you medical advice here. But if you have diabetes or are worried about your blood sugar, I think you should call 855-500-DIABETES. 855-500-DIABETES.
Do you have a motorized wheelchair or scooter that needs repairs and you don't know where to turn? Then call the experts at Precision Repair Network. They are the specialists in repairing all makes and models of motorized wheelchairs and scooters. You can call 24/7 and they will come to you anywhere in the United States. They'll give you a loaner to use until they return yours in perfect condition. And your repairs may be covered by your Medicare or your private insurance, so there is little or no out-of-pocket cost to you. If your wheelchair or scooter needs repairs, call this special hotline now and learn how you can get door-to-door service on your repairs at little or no cost to you. Precision Repair Network. They'll get you moving again. Operators are ready to take your call right now. 800-978-4813. 800-978-4813. 800-978-4813. That's 800-978-4813.
Hello and welcome to your Newsmax Now update. I'm Kathleen Walter. Widespread problems with the Affordable Care Act's website have triggered a backlash in Congress. Senator Marco Rubio says he'll introduce legislation to delay Obamacare's individual mandate until the technical glitches, which prevented many from signing up for health insurance online, are fixed. He says it would be wise to delay the requirement until users can consistently access the website.
It's unfair to punish people for not purchasing a product that they can't purchase right now because the technology that's in place, the website that they're supposed to buy it on, by the president's own admission, is not working. So all I'm calling for is a delay on that requirement until the General Accounting Office of the United States certifies that the website is up and working and functioning and has been functioning for 6 consecutive months. I think that's a prudent approach.
President Obama yesterday didn't rule out delaying the individual mandate, which requires individuals to buy insurance by 2014. The president says until the problems are fixed, the public can apply over the phone or by mail. Police officials are looking into what caused a 13-year-old to bring a semi-automatic handgun to school and kill a teacher and then himself. The shooting happened yesterday near Reno, Nevada. Students and staff are mourning the loss of Michael Lansbury, a well-liked teacher who some are even calling a hero.
He was honestly like a second dad to me when I went there. He cared so much about the students. He said, I would help you guys. I would do anything for you guys. And I guess that meant taking a bullet. And he did.
2 students were also injured during the attack. At this time, school is closed for the rest of the week. The markets opened higher this morning. All eyes were focused on the September jobs report. It shows hiring slowed a bit last month. Employers added 148,000 jobs, but the unemployment rate fell slightly to 7.2%. The Labor Department released the numbers 2.5 weeks late because of the government shutdown. And Hurricane Raymond still causing problems off the west coast of Mexico. As of late Tuesday morning, the Category 3 storm had stalled about 100 miles away from Mexico in the Pacific. Although the storm is not expected to make landfall, there are concerns the rain bands could trigger flooding and mudslides before Raymond heads back out to sea. Coming up, former U.S. Representative and Club for Growth President Chris Ciccolo joins us for a Newsmax exclusive. His take on the Obamacare website woes coming up. And oh my gourd, one Indiana family takes growing pumpkins to the extreme. We'll explain straight ahead.
Attention hip implant patients. Are you in constant pain? Have you received a letter from your doctor about your implant? Have you had or need a revision surgery? Do you have high levels of metal, chromium, or cobalt in your blood? Over 90,000 hip implant devices have been recalled due to defects and failures resulting in revision or replacement surgery. If you have a recalled hip implant, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Call 800-460-0920 to see if your implant is affected by the recalls. If you or a loved one has a defective or recalled hip implant, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Call 800-460-0920. That's 800-460-0920. Protect your legal rights today. Call 800-460-0920. This is an advertisement, not valid in all states. Paid non-attorney spokesperson. iLawsuit.com is an advertising group that represents lawyers advertising their services and is a free matching service for consumers. It is not a law firm or lawyer referral service.
Wow, you look great. Thanks. I've lost some weight. What's your secret weapon? Actually, I do in fact have one. Really?
If you're looking for help in your weight loss efforts, remember this name, Metabio. It just may be the edge you've been looking for. Metabio is the nutritional weight loss breakthrough power-packed with 5 high-quality ingredients. Metabio supports healthy metabolism and promotes fat loss. It helps maintain your optimal weight and wellness when used as part of a healthy lifestyle. Now you can receive a 30-day supply of Metabio. Simply cover a $4.95 shipping fee. Visit themetabio.com/offer for complete details. Act now and you'll also be given instant access to our downloadable special report, A Practical Guide to Healthy Weight Management. Learn how you can try Metabio for 30 days at themetabio.com/offer. That's the metabio.com/offer. Hurry, only while supplies last at themetabio.com/offer.
In a Newsmax exclusive, former Representative and Club for Growth President Chris Ciccolo blasted President Obama's defense of the Obamacare enrollment site, describing the president's statements as just nonsense. Ciccolo of Indiana predicted that the website difficulties, as serious as they are, merely presage even larger setbacks as consumers learn more about how the complex law will affect them.
If the government can't even design and implement and start up a website, what gives people confidence they can help run 20% of the economy?
And finally, Halloween is less than a month away, but you don't have to wait for the Charlie Brown special to see the Great Pumpkin. Tom Beachy and his father David have made growing gigantic pumpkins a tradition for 15 years. The Beachys say they plan to enter it into a contest at the Indiana State Fair. For more exclusive interviews and content, stay with Newsmax TV. I'm Kathleen Walter, and this has been your Newsmax update for October 22nd.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios, this is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling toll-free 1-877-NEWSMAX. That's 1-877-639-7629. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
Having spent the past month up in D.C., it is really great to be back in America.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the to the Steve Malzberg Show. I thought there was a little bit more to Mr. Ted Cruz. I thought it was a 32-second cut. Anyway, welcome back. That was Ted Cruz, and that remark by Ted Cruz, very innocent remark, which politicians make all the time. He's been in D.C. so long, so here he was back in his home state. The congressmen go back to their home districts, and they say, wow, it's great to be back in America, out of D.C. Nothing racial is meant by it. Nothing bigoted is meant by it. Nothing xenophobic is meant by it. Nothing hateful is meant by it. But when you're Ted Cruz, and if you're Chris Matthews, then all the aforementioned, conditions exist. Your reason for saying it's so good to be back in real America and out of D.C. is because you're a bigoted, racist, awful, terrible person. That's right. Listen to this logic. Here's cut 24.
Having spent the past month up in D.C., it is really great to be back in America.
Okay, I don't know how that could be 24. Also, something's going on. I thought we played 17. Okay. Oh, okay, we played 24. That's why I'm all confused. Okay, now, my fault. Now here's 17.
Having spent the past month up in D.C., it is really great to be back in America.
Howard Fineman's editorial director of the Huffington Post, and David Corney's Washington bureau chief for Mother Jones. Both are, of course, MSNBC political analysts. Howard, this isn't a casual reference. We're Americans, we white people out here in Texas, as opposed to people who live in the big cities, the ethnics, the blacks, the browns, those people in Washington, those liberals. They're not Americans.
He is so Looney Tunes. He is so out of control. This national treasure of ours, according to Phil Griffin, the boss of MSNBC, this national treasure, anytime any Republican says anything about anything, basically, it's out of racism, it's out of hatred, it's out of vitriol, it's a joke. Chris Matthews, in my opinion, is a laughingstock, a ranting, raving, lunatic laughingstock. You accused Ted Cruz of being a racist because he said it's good to be back in America and out of Washington, D.C.? He means because there are too many blacks in Washington, D.C.? Are you crazy? That is insanity to interpret it that way. Here's cut number 25.
Good evening. I'm Chris Matthews out in Chicago. Let me start tonight with this. It's a little weird, but is Chicago part of America? Is Philadelphia, my hometown where I'm going to address the National Constitution Center tomorrow, is Philly part of America? Is L.A.? Is San Francisco? Is Austin, Texas? The reason I'm asking this stupid question is because this partisan gunslinger, Ted Cruz, is out there today defining who is and who isn't an American. Remember Michelle Bachmann asking the press on this show to conduct a person-to-person investigation of who in the U.S. Congress is anti-American, while Cruz is worse.
Oh, this gunslinging. Ooh, gunslinger. Ted Cruz. He's a gunslinger partisan. Ooh, and what is Barack Obama if Ted Cruz is a gunslinging partisan? My goodness. There's more. I mean, only out of the brain of... And don't forget, Chris Matthews has redefined racism. He's redefined racism. It's could only be white people who are guilty of it. So, you're dealing without a full deck to begin with. And, I used to think he does this because this is what his bosses want from him. No, this is really due. Here's cut 26.
The same senator who suggested the nominee for defense secretary was taking money from the communists in North Korea now decrees what part of this country are in and which parts are out, which parts are American and which parts aren't. This is McCarthyism writ large. Disagree with this guy and be prepared for the accusations. We are witnessing, I think, the greatest challenge to progressives, to moderates, and reasonable conservatives in modern memory. It's an indictment against the great majority of Americans. To compromise, he says, is bad. To support the law, he says, is wrong. To oppose his brand of right-wing politics is to stand accused by him of being un-American.
I don't even know where to start. I'm not going to do it to support the law is wrong. I'm not going to go into that. I don't have the time or the patience. He's just ranting. Of course, he said probably to support health care law is wrong. So he says to support the law is wrong. That's not what he said. And again, this rant is all based on Ted Cruz after, weeks, 2 tough weeks or whatever in Washington, D.C., through that whole, budget shutdown and the filibuster and the whole thing. He goes home and he says it's so good to be back in real America and out of Washington, D.C. And that is racist. That is evil. That is every name in the book, according to Chris Matthews. That's what all this is based on. How do you twist it? How does anybody with a brain, anybody with any any sense of fairness or decency or anything, interpret that, twist and turn that innocent statement, that little joke, that little, to lighten the mood with the audience, into something evil and racist. How? And here's the final cut, 27.
Howard, this isn't a casual reference. We're Americans, we white people out here in Texas, as opposed to people who live in the big cities, the ethnics, the blacks, the browns, those people in Washington, those liberals, they're not Americans. This guy either has a total lack of understanding of American history and the hell we went through in the McCarthy period, or he knows it damn well and is playing that card. What do you think it is? Knowledge or ignorance?
Knowledge or ignorance? No, you know what? Wow. Look, there's nothing to say to something like this, except this is the monster MSNBC has created. I don't think he's doing it because he thinks this is his job. I think this is what he's become. And I think in part he's become this because when you could get away with saying anything you want, virtually anything you want, calling any name you want to anybody you want, with hatred and vitriol and nonsensical, conclusions. But that's what you become. You become a monster. And he is a out of control, vitriolic, accusatory, inflammatory, rhetorical monster. He really is. And no one on the right would be allowed to get away with what he gets away with on the left. No one. No one at all. Now, Ted Cruz, excuse me, is Ted Cruz considered one of those evil old white guys? Isn't Ted Cruz ethnic? Because he's making it sound like Ted Cruz went home to the good old boys, us white folks. I don't think Ted Cruz, I could be wrong, isn't he Hispanic? Chris? Maybe you better check that, Chris. Maybe you ought to come on today or tomorrow and say, remember that whole rant I gave you about Ted Cruz who went home and he said, hey, good to be back in real America out of the Washington, D.C. And I said it's because he's with his white buddies. And then you do an Emily Latella. Never mind. And some of you know who Emily Latella is. And to those of you who don't, Google Saturday Night Live Emily Latella on the Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Okay, this will interest anyone with diabetes or pre-diabetes. And what I'm about to tell you is pretty controversial, so you want to definitely consult your doctor first. But if diabetes concerns you, there's a toll-free number you need to call, 855-500-DIABETES. At that number, they reveal what they call the one weird spice that's probably in your kitchen right now and how it normalizes blood sugar levels. Now, what they say is people who have followed this plan exactly as they will explain it to you have not only normalized their blood sugar, but stopped taking their diabetes medications with their doctor's approval, of course. You get 3 specific actions to take right now, today, to get your blood sugar level under control in 4 weeks or less. Is it possible to reverse diabetes? 855-500-DIABETES and find out now. Check with your doctor, of course, because I'm not giving you medical advice here. But if you have diabetes or are worried about your blood sugar, I think you should call 855-500-DIABETES. 855-500-DIABETES.
Newsmax Magazine is proud to present a special tribute to our 40th president, Ronald Reagan. It's a very special documentary and commemorative issue of Newsmax Magazine celebrating the centennial of President Reagan's birth. First, here's a video clip from the award-winning documentary, Rendezvous with Destiny.
We're in the midst of a springtime of hope for America.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
Impulses of an evil empire.
Tear down this wall.
I believe that together we can keep this rendezvous with destiny.
In the next several minutes, you will learn things about President Ronald Reagan that you've never seen, heard, or read before. Welcome to today's special Newsmax event celebrating the life and legacy of President Reagan. During this historic presentation, we will commemorate President Reagan's storied life. We'll revisit his 2 terms in office and recollect his proudest achievements and greatest challenges. Ronald Reagan's life reads like a fairy tale of success stories. He was an accomplished athlete, an honored veteran, a famous actor, the governor of California, and of course, our nation's 40th president.
He called himself a citizen politician and only entered politics when he warned government was gaining too much power. By then he was age 54 with a successful career behind him. Twice elected president of the United States, Ronald Wilson Reagan was a contradiction to some. Once a Democrat, then a Republican. A champion of smaller government whose own government grew. A fiscal conservative who failed to balance the budget. His critics mistook his affability for weakness, but behind the smile and the charm existed an extraordinary leader with unique skills and bold and revolutionary ideas.
We only had time to share just a few of the top defining moments in Ronald Reagan's presidency, but you'll get to see them all in Rendezvous with Destiny. By the way, the president's close relationship with the Pope is especially fascinating. You'll also learn how dealing with an alcoholic father helped shape Reagan's ability to negotiate. And if you ever wondered what the leader of the free world likes to get for the holidays, well, you'll find that out as well. So let's review today in this free offer. We are sending you a copy of Ronald Reagan, Rendezvous with Destiny, and the collector's limited edition of our issue commemorating the 100th anniversary of President Reagan's birth.
Right now, when you subscribe to Newsmax Magazine, you can own both the DVD and receive the special Reagan 100th Birthday Commemorative Edition. That's $25 in bonus gifts when you subscribe. Go to newsmax.com/Reagan13 to subscribe today. Join the millions who read Newsmax Magazine every month.
Get off the sidelines and be a part of the show. Call Steve toll-free at 1-877-NEWSMAX. That's 1-877-639-7629. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the big show. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, a very special guest, one of the most well-known and outspoken economists around. Of course, he's a professor at the University of Maryland. Peter Morici will be here. And rumor has it that he might not be wearing the bow tie. Yeah. Now, if that happens, this might be a first. So stick around. Peter Morici joining us at the bottom to talk about the recent jobs report and J.P. Morgan's $13 billion settlement with the Justice Department, which you're going to want to hear what he has to say about that. But joining us right now is Michael Massey, founder, president of In His Name Ministries, former national chair of the Black think tank Project 21. And he has a brand new book, Random Rants. I was right then, and I am right now. Hello, sir. How are you? Good to speak to you.
It's good to talk with you again. I'm doing quite well. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Okay, so great compilation of your rants, if you will, and boy, I'm telling you, I just played a bunch of sound bites from Chris Matthews. Ted Cruz went back to Texas, and Ted Cruz addressed the people who he was speaking to, and he said, it's so good to be back in the real America and away from Washington, D.C. So Chris Matthews did this whole thing about what a racist, bigoted person Ted Cruz is, because by saying it's good to be out of D.C. and back in real America, it means he hates blacks. I mean, it's insane out there. It just is insane. I wish I was kidding. I can't make it up.
That's like walking through the chicken yard trying to keep your feet clean. Chris Matthews, I'm not sure what credibility he ever had, but to say something so profoundly unjust and incorrect simply once again shows the lengths persons like him will go to diminish anyone they see as A, being a threat to their domain, and B, seeking to truly empower and represent the people. And Ted Cruz, in a very demonstrative way, laid it all on the line to fight for not just what he believed in, but for the American people. And the tragedy is that he was portrayed party into government and he was portrayed that way by both Republicans and Democrats, and that's the injustice.
Yeah.
Republicans tragically are no longer interested in true conservatives and true conservative ideologies. They are moderate, left-leaning, and that's the direction that they want the party to go. And I have been very forthright and vocal in my consternation of the direction that they're leading the party.
And who would you like? I mean, we had Rand Paul on at the beginning of the show. There's Rand Paul, there's Ted Cruz, there's Senator Lee, and there are certainly a number in the House. But they just had a headline on the Drudge Report before that John McCain told a Phoenix radio station that he might run for the Senate again for another term. I mean, I've had people tell me that they don't really like the primarying, if you will, with Tea Party candidates, the established Republicans. But if they could find one for Lindsey Graham to support, they'll fight to get Lindsey Graham out of there. I mean, the name calling, like you said, when it comes from Republicans to give fuel and ammunition to the media, which they don't need, and to the Democrats, which they don't need, and I know you know this, Michael. I mean, we had the House passed several bills. One of them funded for kids with cancer who needed treatment. One of them funded veteran services. One of them funded to keep that great Washington, D.C. that Chris Matthews loves so much, full of minorities apparently, open and running. And the Democrats and Obama said, no, we're not bringing it up. And Obama said, I won't sign it. They're the villains in this. But, even people like McCain and Graham attack Cruz. It doesn't make sense.
They're not. It's, again, let there be no doubt that Obama is a villain. There's no question about it. There's no question about the moral opprobriety of that individual. Having said that, I would be remiss as a card-carrying Republican, as a unapologetic constructionist conservative, Christian conservative, I would be remiss if I did not say we cannot excuse John Boehner working behind the scenes to derail the investigation into Fast and Furious. We cannot dismiss John Boehner's involvement in taking off course the investigations into Benghazi. We cannot dismiss the fact that Pete Sessions of Texas and Eric Cantor of Virginia came up with a plan to have secret bills. The one bill that would fully fund Obamacare that they would pass in secret. At the same time, they were waiving a fictitious bill that defunded, said that it defunded Obamacare. And then when it went down in flames, they would be able to say, "Oh, we went to the mat, we fought for it," when in reality they had passed a secret bill.
No, you're absolutely right. No, yeah.
How can we say? I mean, I like to think that I'm pretty good with the. I'm above functional with the English language, but words fail me to understand how the House of Representatives can pass a bill, send it over, and have everything in the government, everything the government needs, fully funded, with the exception of Obamacare. And Obama and the other and McCain and other Karl Rove and others claim that the Republicans had fought to defund Obamacare, were responsible for shutting down the government, when the Democrats with Harry Reid refused to vote on the monies that were sent over, refused to authorize the money.
Yeah.
How is that Republican?
Michael, you make a great point, and I know the book is full of the random rants because it's called Random Rants. I was right then, and I'm right now. A little play on words there, I'm sure. Michael Massey, founder and president of In His Name Ministries, and Michael, too short, but we'll have you back soon. I thank you very much. Great luck with the book.
Thank you very much. And your people can go to michael-massey.com to find the books and my daily rant.
Got it. Michael-Massey.com, M-A-S-S-I-E. Here on the Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio. Don't go away. You're not going to want to miss the next guest.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Larry works on the construction site when he's not held up with constipation. Mary sits all day at a desk, which does little to relieve gas and bloating. You can't schedule abdominal discomfort, but you can help alleviate it with Back2Pro. Developed by holistic medical doctor David Brownstein, Back2Pro is the fiber probiotic supplement that comes in the form of an easy-to-eat, tasty wafer. It includes the most essential ingredients necessary to help support your healthy digestive and immune function. Experience the results. Learn how you can receive a 30-day supply of Back2Pro. Just visit Back2Pro.com/offer. All you cover is a $4.95 shipping fee. Act now, and you'll also be given instant access to our downloadable special report, A Doctor's Guide to Probiotics and Your Health. Do something about your digestive health now. Get your 30-day supply at Back2Pro.com/offer. That's BACTIPRO.com/offer. Limited time only. Back2Pro.com/offer.
Do you suffer from joint discomfort? Contrary to what the experts may say, achy joints do not have to be a normal part of aging. Holistic doctor David Brownstein challenged conventional thinking to focus on natural solutions for joint health. As a result, Dr. Brownstein has recently developed Limbex, the premium nutritional supplement specifically formulated to support healthy joints and connective tissue. It's a new joint breakthrough formula containing 11 hand-picked nutrients. Learn more at limbexjoint.com/special and take the 30-day Healthy Joint Challenge. That's a 30-day supply of the Limbex Joint Supplement. All you pay is a $4.95 shipping fee. Act now, and you'll also be given instant access to our downloadable special report, A Doctor's Guide to Happy, Healthy Joints at Any Age. You can do something about joint discomfort and flexibility. Learn how you can try it for 30 days at limbexjoint.com/special. That's limbexjoint.com/special. limbexjoint.com/special.
150 million people suffer from headaches. All you want is for the pounding in your head to stop. Migralex stops the pounding. Migralex was developed by a neurologist and founder of the New York Headache Center.
I'm neurologist Dr. Alex Malzberg. After studying and researching the human brain for 25 years, I've developed Migralex, which eliminates pounding headaches. It works for my patients, and I'm so convinced it will work for you. I don't just guarantee it, I put my name on it.
Dr. Malzberg's Migralex gets rid of headaches fast without harsh caffeine, sodium, or preservatives.
Migralex works unbelievably fast, and it's gentle on my stomach.
Find out how to get your free bottle of Migralex. Call 800-532-2967. Plus, if you're one of the first 100 callers, you'll also receive the Migralex Quick Tips to Headache Relief absolutely free. That's 800-532-2967. Or go to migralexrelief.com. MIGRALEX relief.com. Or call 800-532-2967.
Here's today's silver shortage update from Lear Capital. Reports keep coming, the shortage is growing. Twice already this year, the U.S. Mint has run out. Last time this happened, the silver price jumped 40%. It's time to take advantage with this special offer from Lear Capital.
For a limited time, buy 20 new silver polar bear coins and get one free. The only 1.5-ounce coin on the market. It's minted with the finest silver, carries a government guarantee, and is eligible for IRAs. The silver polar bear is available exclusively from Lear Capital. But don't wait. Silver supplies are shrinking, and availability is not guaranteed. This offer is limited to a minimum purchase of $5,000. Call right now. 800-634-0482. 800-634-0482. Call Lear Capital now. 800-634-0482.
Microphones hot. Satellite link established. Studio lights illuminated. Cameras rolling. Audio and video encoders firing ones and zeros. Radio show is on the air. Here's the captain of this enterprise, Steve Malzberg.
And welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. I am very happy that we are joined right now by Peter Marisi, professor, University of Maryland, the Robert H. Smith School of Business, a Newsmax contributor. Now, Robert, I'm sorry, Robert. Okay, that's my son's name, so it was on my brain. Here we go. Take two. And welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. We had the jobs numbers today, and we got the J.P. Morgan Chase controversial settlement proposal with the Justice Department to talk about. And nobody better than Peter Marisi, who is a professor at the Robert H. Smith School of Business, University of Maryland, also a Newsmax contributor. Hello, Peter. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm fine. Just trembling in fear from this Henry VIII, judicial system we now have. I mean, the president is shaking down J.P. Morgan. There's no other word for it. They started investigating these mortgage-related securities fraud in this area 4 years after Mr. Obama took office, or about the time that Morgan and the others decided not to support the president in his re-election campaign. How about that?
Well, that's exactly what that was going to be my question eventually. If you see this as a payback for not supporting Obama in his re-election campaign on the part of Chase.
Oh, absolutely. More than that, Wall Street as a whole kind of moved away. But you notice they went after J.P. Morgan Chase, not Goldman Sachs, even though at J.P. Morgan Chase, most of the sins were committed by companies that J.P. Morgan acquired at the behest of the Bush Treasury Department. Bear Stearns and
Washington Mutual.
Yeah. Whereas, although the sins may be smaller in what is now Goldman Sachs, those were sins that blind finds people themselves committed. It's just amazing how Eric Holder, exercises prosecutorial discretion. I like to think of the president these days as Henry VIII, but Eric Holder is a more insidious and less enviable character. He's the Sheriff of Nottingham. Remember the Sheriff of Nottingham in the Robin Hood movie?
Absolutely.
With Errol Flynn?
Absolutely.
He was just a little twit.
So Eric Holder is a little twit?
Well, no, he's the Sheriff of Nottingham.
Okay.
He's basically going out and doing the bidding. I don't want to say that about the man.
Okay.
He is a capable lawyer, but he unfortunately has a very political agenda these days.
Now, what about the rest of Wall Street or the rest of the big banks? I mean, is this going to be a domino effect, or is this just the first?
There are a lot of these cases going, and they're going to rip them off. I mean, the settlement is far in excess of anything that should be taken from J.P. Morgan, and you can count on more shakedowns. It would be fraudulent for me. It would be a felony for me to, for example, threaten you with fraud to get the upper hand in a civil, complaint, but not so the Attorney General. In the background, there are these. There's the potential for criminal complaints. As a consequence, the banks
doesn't preclude the Justice Department or the Sheriff of Nottingham, if you will, from going after the officers of J.P. Morgan Chase. And if a number of them are found guilty, they could dismember the whole bank?
Well, if a number of them are found guilty, they would dismember. That could result in itself is found guilty of a major criminal violation. Historically, that leads to the closure of the institution. Now, J.P. Morgan is just too big as a banker to America's large corporations to shut it, but I could see it being dismembered. If I were Ford and others, I would be looking for an alternative banker. I would be looking to take my business someplace else. It's clear that Eric Holder is going after. Eric Holder is going after Jamie Dimon, much the way Robert Kennedy went after Jimmy Hoffa. I mean, that was an obsession with Robert Kennedy, and maybe that was justified in those days. But Jamie Dimon, I've never been a big fan of the big banks. If you go back and look at my op-eds, I've advocated breaking them up, and I've advocated replacing Dimon, Blankfein, and others that caused the financial crisis. But not this way. Not this way. This is just hot. And what are they doing? Look at the settlement. They're paying a huge fine to a cash-hungry Treasury. They were also giving the president money to spread around for political purposes. $4 billion for consumers who, were hurt by basically fraudulent mortgages. A lot of those homeowners really committed fraud. They're the ones who lied on the mortgage applications. They're the ones who took out loans they had no business taking out. All at the behest of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, who's also getting paid off. This whole thing is a travesty of justice.
We're talking to Peter Morisi here on the Steve Malzberg Show, Professor Robert H. Smith School of Business, University of Maryland, Newsmax contributor. You see him on the tube all the time. And Peter, we should point out that aside from, I think, a foreign TV appearance or a still photo, this is your first time on TV without the bow tie.
That anyone can remember. I used to do TV with a straight tie, but I don't think anybody can remember me. This is my teaching uniform. I have my golf shirt on. I try to be relaxed for my students. I'm intimidating enough as it is, I'm told.
Now, let's get back to this one more question before we get to the jobs numbers. Do you believe that when they do go after the other banks, that this is going to be the template for other settlements, that they're going to say, hey, look, this is what we got, this is what we want to do, you got to cough up the same kind of thing?
This is a year's profits, and they can survive this $13 billion. The problem is all the other suits that are pending. Oh, I think they're going to be large settlements. I don't know if it'll be as large as this.
Okay, let's move on. And one more. You talked about Obama. You talked about this. This fits in with their philosophy. I mean, this is who Obama is. If you're a banker, if you worked on Wall Street, and half your salary was a bonus, and it totaled $100,000, you were evil. And how dare these bankers take it? If you remember back, they even protested. They gave the addresses. Barney Frank wanted the addresses of the executives printed in the paper so people could go to their homes. But if you're, a TV star, if you're a basketball player, if you're Oprah, or if you're a Hollywood mogul, then you're not evil making that kind of money. And I guess if you're Obama and you're a millionaire, you're not evil either. But the bankers, and the banks, they're all evil.
Well, the bankers were his pals until they became disenamored with him. It just goes to show you, if you start to even think in a conservative direction, if the IRS won't get you, Eric Holder will.
Yeah, okay, that's true. All right, so the jobs numbers today, what we have...
They've got a division of labor in Washington. The IRS goes after the little guy, Eric Holder goes after the big fish. The sheriff of Nottingham, he was hunting down, Robin Hood. It was his minions that were going after poor Friar Tuck.
Yeah, that's
and they couldn't even catch that poor little fellow.
Quite a division. I like the way you put it, the division of labor in Washington. All right, speaking of labor and the Department of Labor, unemployment drops to 7.2%, lowest they're touting since November of 2008. Only 148,000 jobs created. We're just in a cycle, and it goes on and on and on this way. The labor force participation remains steady, so that wasn't a factor apparently this time. But we're never going to get out of it at this rate.
No, we're not. We really need 350,000 jobs a month. I would characterize the president's economics team as performing as well this year as someplace between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the New York Giants. Both are abysmal. Only exceeded in their disappointment by the Obama economics team. And by the way, did you hear his new line on budget negotiations? We need more money for education and infrastructure. We may need more money for both, but we ought to carve it out of something else, because what we've learned is spending more money is not the path to prosperity. I think that, Governor Perry has it down cold. That branch of Keynesian economics is dead.
But by the way, Peter, that might be his latest line, but that's the standard line from him and from predecessors. And Cory Booker used it when he was running recently for the Senate. Money for education, infrastructure. It's the same spiel.
It's like creating parking spaces for expectant mothers at the Safeway. Everybody's for it, But if you have a town with say 100 people, 200 spaces is too much. Likewise, we've spent an average of $1 trillion a year in deficits with this guy for 5 years now, and that's kind of a lot, and I think we've gone as far as we can with stimulus. One of the basic problems we have is the infrastructure isn't good enough, but not because the country needs more spending to boost demand. It needs more spending, but not from the government, but it's because the government wastes most of its money. What about this? What about taking all of that money the IRS uses to hunt down conservatives for the crime of going to a Tea Party meeting, or that Eric Holder has been using to hunt down bankers? How about using the money? How about slimming down the Justice Department and the IRS to pay for some new bridges? What do you think would do more for American capitalism, growth, and jobs? Spending more money, hunting down bankers, tying them up in knots so they can't make loans?
Let me tell you something, Peter.
Or spending it on a few new bridges.
The next Republican presidential candidate needs you as an advisor, and not only an economic advisor, but as a speechwriter too. Because
I want to make the speeches.
Peter, I hope you'll come back. It's been a pleasure.
Take care.
Thank you. All right, Peter Morisi, ladies and gentlemen, from, of course, economics professor, University of Maryland, Robert H. Smith School of Business. Without the bow tie. We got him without the bow tie. Do you know how big that is? It may never happen again. But he is so right. It is a shakedown. Obama and Holder despise the banks now, especially J.P. Morgan Chase. And this is what it results in. And Chase says, okay, we'll pay you $13 billion. Crazy stuff. 877 Newsmax, 877 Newsmax. You want to weigh in? Love to hear from you right here on the Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Hi, this is Dick Morris. Obamacare is taking full effect this year with over 15,000 pages of regulations. You need to know how this law affects you. That's why you should get your copy of Obamacare Survival Guide. It's easy to read and the best guide to the new law. Even if you're currently insured or a senior on Medicare or a business owner, a medical professional, or really any citizen, you need the Obamacare Survival Guide. In it, you'll find about hidden taxes, fees, and fines, including a 40% tax on some health plans. I warned you about Obamacare. It's rationing, Medicare cuts, and will trigger doctor shortages. Now the Obamacare Survival Guide gives you the simple steps to protect your family.
Get the Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere. It's already an Amazon bestseller. Or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 today. Go to Obamacare311.com. Obamacare311.com. That's Obamacare311.com.
Okay, this will interest anyone with diabetes or pre-diabetes. And what I'm about to tell you is pretty controversial, so you want to definitely consult your doctor first. But if diabetes concerns you, there's a toll-free number you need to call, 855-500-DIABETES. At that number, they reveal what they call the one weird spice that's probably in your kitchen right now and how it normalizes blood sugar levels. Now, what they say is people who have followed this plan exactly as they will explain it to you have not only normalized their blood sugar, but stopped taking their diabetes medications with their doctor's approval, of course. You get 3 specific actions to take right now, today, to get your blood sugar level under control in 4 weeks or less. Is it possible to reverse diabetes? 855-500-DIABETES and find out now. Check with your doctor, of course, because I'm not giving you medical advice here. But if you have diabetes or are worried about your blood sugar, I think you should call 855-500-DIABETES. 855-500-DIABETES.
If you're a man over 40, your prostate could be forcing you to urinate frequently, even disrupting your sleep multiple times each night. You're not alone. Over half of men over 40 experience age-related prostate concerns. Fortunately, prominent medical doctor David Brownstein believes that aging prostate concerns are not inevitable. That's why Dr. Brownstein developed Prostate Revive, an advanced dietary supplement containing a unique blend of 15 ingredients designed to promote optimal prostate health. So men, as part of this new radio promotion, you now have the opportunity to claim your own 30-day supply of Prostate Revive, containing saw palmetto, beta-cytosterol, and numerous other prostate helpers. Just cover a $4.95 shipping and handling charge. Plus, if you act now, you'll also get a doctor's guide to a healthy prostate as a bonus gift. Please visit prostaterevive.com/radio for details on getting your 30-day supply of Prostate Revive and free report. That's prostaterevive.com/radio. Do something about those annoying age-related prostate concerns. Visit prostaterevive.com/radio now while supplies last.
A hot new book by Craig Smith argues that the greenback is now at high risk. Thanks to our spendthrift politicians, Mark Twain said the truth is stranger than fiction. The same is true of the Great Debasement, which began a century ago with the creation of the Federal Reserve and income tax. The result, today's dollar retains just 2 cents of its original buying power. Yes, progressive politicians have engineered the largest wealth confiscation in history, creating in essence a fourth branch of government. Learn what must be done to preserve your money if the dollar crashes. The good news is Swiss America is offering the Great Debasement, a $20 value free of charge for this special radio offer.
800-818-3967. 800-818-3967. 800-818-3967. Call Swiss America now for a free DVD. 800-818-3967.
Hi, this is Mike Reagan. You need to watch out because thousands of new Obamacare rules are currently being implemented, and few know what the law says or does. Listen to what Senator Max Baucus, one of the authors of the Obamacare law, recently said.
I tell you, I just see a huge train wreck coming down, and I don't see any results yet. I just see a huge train wreck.
He's right. So protect yourself from this train wreck. Get the #1 bestseller, the Obamacare Survival Guide. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law. Join more than 500,000 Americans who have their copy.
Get the #1 bestseller, the Obamacare Survival Guide, at bookstores everywhere. Or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price by going now to Obamacare311.com. Obamacare311.com. That's Obamacare311.com.
Get off the sidelines and be a part of the show. Call Steve toll-free at 1-877-Newsmax. That's 1-877-639-7629. Here is Steve Malzberg.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that would be me. Welcome back to the show. Okay, here's an interesting statistic for you. A majority of Americans believe that the economy is getting much worse. Much worse, okay? It's a CNN ORC International Survey, and it shows that 59% predict poor economic conditions a year from now. 40% said the economy would be in good shape next year at this time. It also marked a 10% drop in optimism about the U.S. economy since June. Now, this shouldn't surprise anybody. 71% of the adults surveyed said that current economic conditions remain poor. 29% said the current economic conditions are good. Whose fault is it? Whose fault is it on October 22nd, 2013? George W. Bush? Because that's what I'm sure Barack Obama would tell you. Well, we inherited the greatest economic disaster since the Great Depression. Some say even worse, blah, 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 blah. Sure, it's still Bush's fault. But here's what you need to know. Golden opportunities in the 2012 race. There were articles written even in the New York Times about the Boys Club, known as the Barack Obama Inner Circle. The Boys Club. The lack of female appointees to key posts at that point. Now, since then, he's appointed several more women. The golf games, the basketball games, where no women are allowed, no women are included. And the quotes from inside the White House, from women, some who have left the administration, talking about this Boys Club atmosphere and attitude. The reports that came out that talked about how women in the Obama White House got paid less on average than men. Why was none of that addressed by Mitt Romney and the Republicans? Because they conceded the whole war on women. Okay, news media says it. Democrats say it. I guess we have a war on women, is what Romney's people must have said. So, let's stay away from war on women. Don't bring up the Boys Club at the White House. Don't bring up anything that would be contradictory to the fact that we hate women. Okay, don't talk about abortion and how radical Obama is. War on women. We're guilty, so let's just chalk it all up to them or give it to them. Now, here's an interesting statistic. Here's a stat for you. American women participated in the nation's labor force in September at a rate that matched the lowest in 24 years. Let me repeat myself. American women participated in the nation's labor force in September at a rate that matched the lowest in 24 years, according to data released by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. At the same time, the number of women actually holding jobs declined by 154,000 from August to September. Really? So all these jobs that are being created, I guess they're not for women. Anyway, I got to tell you, I'm not going to get into whether the decline of women in the labor force is a good thing or a bad thing. I'm not going to go there, okay? not going to go there for various reasons because that's not the issue at hand here. But there you go. 154,000 fewer women had jobs in September, and female participation in the labor force is at a 24-year low. Where are the Republicans to hold the press conference? Where are the Republican women from the House and the Senate to be on the steps of the Capitol today to announce this? Where? Nah, why bother? Why bother? Why bother reaching out to a constituency that's traditionally Democrat? No, let it go. Who cares? Besides, you don't want to be viewed as racist. I really don't understand. I just don't. Could somebody help me? Now, not only that, 90,609,000 Americans are not in the labor force. That is another record high. The women was a record low. This is a record high. The number of Americans 16 years or older who have decided not to participate in the nation's labor force has climbed to a record 90,609,000 in September, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Don't you know? They count a person as participating in the labor force if they're 16 or older and either have a job or have actively sought a job in the last 4 weeks. How do you like that? How do you like that? I'm just looking here at January of 2009 when Obama took office. There were 80,507,000 Americans not in the labor force. It's increased. There were 80 million. Okay? It's increased 10 million in 5 years. In 5 years, it's gone up 10 million. That's what? I'm just off the top of my head. 15%? Something like that? It's incredible. It is incredible. Thus, the number of Americans not in the labor force. Okay, we got that. When President Obama took office in January, the labor force participation rate was 65.7%. Today, it's 63.2%. The overall unemployment rate, we got that. I'm looking to see if there's any other breakdowns here. Nope. Pretty bad. So kudos to those people in the CNN poll who think things are bad and think things are going to get worse. But here's the sick thing. If they had another presidential election tomorrow, Barack Obama would probably win. You tell me. Because Republicans are silent. What I just told you, and if you go deeper into the Bureau of Labor Statistics, let's hear the unemployment rate for blacks and black 16-year-olds and up and black males. Let's hear that. And let's get the Republicans, especially the women, to talk about the women. Let's get Senator Scott to talk about black unemployment. Let's play the Democrats' game. Let's give this information out to the general public, not just on the Steve Malzberg show, but let the leadership in the House and Senate gather together and say, boy, this is outrageous stuff. Shouldn't we tell the women of America? Shouldn't we tell the men of America? Shouldn't we tell the various ethnic groups their unemployment rate? Shouldn't we give them this news? No. Shh. We don't want to say anything that might harm the Democrats in 2014 or in 2016. So we'll just go about our business and let Malzberg give these statistics out so we could say we know they're being given out. Could you design a recipe for a loss if you tried better than the one they're actually executing? I know it's early. I know it's but this is what you need. You need to pound. You're trying to win groups and constituencies that you lost the last 2 times around. So be out there. When something like this presents itself as bad news, I'm not saying you're rooting for bad news, but when it's there, educate the public. Because the media is not going to do it. Wolf Blitzer's not going to do it. You're talking about the Washington Redskins name being racist. All right, folks. We'll do it again tomorrow. Maybe I'll be shocked one day by the Republicans, although I wouldn't hold my breath. On the Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and Radio.